Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk a bunch of animated shows and movies here with new podcasts every other Wednesday. Find everything about us at overlyanimated.com. I'm Dylan Hysen, today joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hey, y'all.
Sarah Dolman.
Hello.
And Beatriz Mourad.
Hello.
We are talking The Owl House here in the first of our Owl House off-season podcasts between seasons 1 and 2. We're going to be getting into our wish list for Lumity in season 2. That's Luz and Amity, their ship name. I think probably, I don't know, how long will I keep having to clarify that? But I think it's not like Starka where it's said in the show or something. That we could, actually, that's a wish list item. Is going to be Lumity said in season 2.
Okay, is it going to be Gus or Willow? That's the discussion.
I think Gus. Yeah,
I have my money on Gus.
Okay, that's the type of thing we're going to be getting into here. So we're going to talk about everything we want to see from Luz and Amity in season 2 of The Owl House. How are you guys doing today? We have a full house here for this Owl House podcast. Everyone good?
This is cutting into my Valhalla time, but it's fine.
Okay, yes. That's you say actually accurate though. You probably would. Yeah, you definitely would be playing right now.
No, I literally was like, okay, because my brother's over too. I was like, okay, guys. Told my wife and my brother. I was like, okay, you have to tell me when it's 6:30. Then at 6:30, I got into a quest and I was like, crap, I can't save. But then I managed to beat the quest before 7. Like it was like 6:45, and I was like, nice. But then at 6:50, I ran up here. But I was literally, and now my brother's like, oh, can I play while you're podcasting? And I'm like, I guess. So that's what's going on.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's talented. Finishing the quest in 15 minutes.
Easy.
Just
storming a fort. It's chill.
Storming the fort. Sarah, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm a little flustered because we had some technical difficulties on my end before we started, but I'm here and I'm so excited to talk about Lumity.
Lumity, yes, will be good. And Beatriz is back, joining us for the first time in a while.
I'm back.
Beatriz. Yes, you're back.
Hello. I left my cave. I'm back. I'm here.
Well, okay. So what I wanted to ask to start is you hosted the early Owl House podcast,
yeah, really
and
early.
We haven't heard from you in a while on the Owl House. So it's like, catch us up on your Owl House journey since we've last heard you.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I think I stopped watching it when they stopped podcasting for a bit. Like I just took a break from a lot of things. And then, this is something that like, I don't know, if you guys could relate to this, but I have somehow created this space for myself in like online where I kind of feel like I have these like gay senses, like Spider-Man has spider senses, where I can just somehow or another, it always lands on my lap. Like I know when something's like when the whispers start coming, they're like, oh my God, is this gonna happen? Yeah. Oh, what's going on? Like da 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 da. And I started to sense something. And then
when the gays are like, the whispering gets really loud. When you're part of the hive mind, you begin to feel it. Like you're like something has happened.
You start seeing like fan art popping up on your timeline. You start seeing things happen. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
It starts trending on Twitter.
Not even trending. It's like, it's also like, for instance, my friends that I game with and all that stuff, like they aren't like super into animation like I am, but like they started being like, especially Western animation, they're not really that into it. And then they were like, hey, I heard that this show is really good. And usually when they say, oh, I think I hear X show is really good, the translation is, oh, there's gay in here, maybe we should watch.
Yeah, that's accurate.
So I was like, okay. And then I started hearing him talk about Owl House. I'm like, okay, all right, Owl House, because
you were not sold when we first started talking about it. You were like, Lumity's not gonna happen. I don't really see it yet.
I went out and I was rewatching like the scenes, and it was up until I think it was the episode where the duel, the witch duel. That was as far as it went. Like that's where I stopped, and I remember
that's episode 5.
Yeah, episode 5 is when I stopped. And I remember everyone already like being like, oh my God, is this going to become canon? Like we sense this. No. And at that point I was like, that's a little bit of a stretch. I don't see this happening at all just yet.
Like, the gays are being silly again.
Like, and not even that. Also, like, I think there was some other fandoms, people were like being upset because of other things. Like they were like,
the usual.
yeah, exactly, about like all these things about, oh, we're being baited, about this and that. So I was already like kind of tired of people like reading into things that without actual subtext or
You were
text.
tired of the internet as per usual.
Basically,
That's a mood.
a lot
Super mood.
I was just done. So I was tired of like that. So I was like very cautious. I was like, this is not going to happen. You guys, like, let's take a breath. Let's like get excited when there's something worth getting excited about. And then, and I think also because I was like, well, why is everyone shipping them too? What about her and Willow? So at that point, I was also thinking about that. But then anyway, so I started watching. When everyone started talking about it up, I was like, all right, we'll watch it. And I was telling my friends, I was like, oh, but it's like a really good show from what the 5 episodes I saw, like it's really good. And then I started, and then it's just kind of like, your jaw just keeps dropping and you're just like, oh my God, I was wrong.
Okay, well, my thing is like, as a collective, like you watch Grom, and then you're like, how does this show get gayer? And they managed to do it. It's truly mystifying.
Yeah, I guess because I maybe like people who are going to be growing up that are much younger than us, if you compare like Grom to like the finale of like Legend of Korra, right?
Yeah, it's like what?
Exactly. Like if you just compare the two and how one of them is so tentative, is so like you can feel.
Well, you still have people on the internet being like, "Oh, they're friends." Like, okay,
I know, but like you can feel the censorship. It's like to the point where you can just feel it around your neck. That's just like it's so there. Whereas with the other one with Owl House, it was just so open and free. And it wasn't like a big deal. Like the reason it's a big deal is because it was being treated as not a big deal. It was just like it just was. So it just.
She was gonna give her a note. I still can't get over it.
I was just, and for me, it was just like when like their noses almost touch, and I'm like, oh my God, where was this show when I was
also so like the aggressive flirting
when they get together, when they're about to dance and stuff.
Yeah, right at the start.
So they get really close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what really gets me is when Amity like puts her arms on like when they're like in the hallway and they're like touching each other's shoulders. I'm like, y'all need to stop. Like,
yeah, it's just these
stressing me out.
It's these like little subtle things, and again, so it just kind of, and it just kept going from there, and it was very like it. I don't know if that's ever something that I'm ever gonna get over when watching Western animation, because I just growing up, I just never saw that.
No, it doesn't exist.
So so it was just kind of like.
And Amity blushes every 5 minutes. It's incredible.
So, but yeah, so that's like, so I binged it and I watched it all. And then I think I binged it up until like the last episode, or like the
2-part,
the rugby episode, because I don't know the name of the sport.
It's Grudgeby. And so you watch, so were you, oh my God, did you get to experience Wing It Like Witches live? Because that was the experience, was everyone being like, oh my God.
Yeah, like that was like the episode that had aired right as we were binging it. We're like, oh, this episode's airing the next day, so we started watching it. We watched that, and then we kept going. But like literally, then the show ended, and then it went on hiatus, and so then it wasn't really like, it wasn't like a build up. I binged it, so I always feel like whenever I do something, I cheat a little bit, because everyone else is like, well, what's gonna happen?
I'm just not over the wait between Grom and Wing It Like Witches, and then you watch Wing It Like Witches, and you're like, how did it get gayer after Grom? I don't understand.
Like my insides were exploding that entire week, like from just the intensity of how gay it was and how much gayer it was going to become. Like I just Grom was like one of the gayest things I've ever watched, and then they were like, here's the next episode, and I was like, what?
Yeah, and I will say this, like, and something that's just been really great is how, like, I don't want to compare it to Legend of Korra, because I remember after Legend of Korra aired, like, Brian and Mike did that big post on Tumblr, right? And it's kind of like this massive thing. And then I remember, and then to kind of compare it, then there was like this AMA that Dana did on Reddit, and there was this one person who was like, don't you think people are like making a big deal about this? Like, you work so hard in the world building. Isn't it annoying that everyone just cares about ships? And I'm like, I can read your homophobia from here, buddy. I can hear, I can feel it. And then she just responds with like, no, I love when they care about I just love that they care so much about like these characters. It means I'm doing a great job, or something along those lines. And I was just like, the fact that we went from like this long confessional essay, like saying like, we did it, kids, to someone just being like, nah, I love it when people ship my characters and it's great. They're not reading too much into it. And then her openly stating Amity's sexuality, like being like, no.
And when after Grom, when she posted on Twitter, like, our main character is bi, like, deal with it. And then just sent like all sorts of
and then
like,
in the same
really
AMA,
sassy gifts to all the haters.
Confirmed that Amity's a lesbian.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like it's just it was just such a it was, I don't know. It's just it was.
Well, it's also
lovely. It's been that's been like a shining light. It's been like the water in the horrible desert that is 2020. So.
Well, I think also what you
that's what Delaney's been saying this whole time.
Oh my god, this is literally the only good thing this year. But like, and Kipo.
Delaney keeps saying that 2020 is our year. So
and it's
I don't know.
True.
I don't. You're sticking to that. Okay, you continue to stick to that.
Everything for us to have the gay. We had.
I was that far.
Delaney's still claiming 2020. Let that be known. Okay.
Yeah, like 2020 sucks, but it's like, because I said it last year that 2020 is going to be the year of gay, and it has been, and in true homophobic fashion, we have suffered so much for what we've gotten. But I did want to say that it's interesting too with Korra. We also have to think about the demographics of like the kind of Korra was, and then now we've kind of got to the point where it's like, you know, the gays just go from show to show, and it's like literally, it's like I am being pandered to, and I'm about it. Like they were like, here's the Owl House. It's for you queer children, and here you go. And I was like, yes, like, yes. So, and it's very different. And like, and also, you know, the demographic of, you know, they had to make that post about Korra because everyone sucks. And then we're here in 2020 with Lumity, and it's like, duh.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it's just great seeing the shift and
And Jaden's like, I'm bi. My main character's bi. Duh.
So you're caught up. You're on board with Lumity, and it's you're on board with the experience of what we've all been going through.
How much do you ship Will Lose? I'm not going to yell at you, but I might.
Yeah, are you still? And any part of you still shipping? Willow?
No. It was no. I'm all on. I mean, I'm not mad at it. Like people ship what you ship. You know?
No. Like I'm not anti. It's more like. I'm cool with the throuple concept than I am this like Will Lose versus Lumity. I'm like, guys, come on. Like,
I don't know.
I mean, again, I'm also all for is like ships that actually have text in it. And I haven't seen anything from Willow and Luz besides platonic friendship.
Now, so am I horrible? And I'm kind of about Basha, even though it's the worst thing ever. I was like, this sucks, and I kept reading fanfic about it, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, somehow
do I like it a little bit?
Basha Willow has turned into the second most popular ship. Yeah,
incredible.
I don't know where that came from, but yeah, no. So Beatriz mentioned text. Yeah, so this year has kind of turned into, as we've been talking about this on Kipo as well, but like we actually have two shows where there's like actual queer text in the before the end of the show, which is revolutionary. Like we didn't have that before this year.
Yeah, because we had we go to like Korra and Voltron. They were like, you can be gay at the end.
Yeah.
Even She-Ra, you can argue that.
Yeah.
But,
I would say with She-Ra, at the very least, you have like an entire season.
True.
Granted, that is also what Korra gave us, but you know, people will argue.
But and it's not even like the end, like the final episode. It's like it's like with She-Ra was like the last season. You had cameos of some other characters before that, but like it's like the last season. This is the first season of the show.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like it's not even.
Grom's not even like the
last episode of the show. No, it's like the
they're
first.
Like, here you go, Grom, and it was like, gee. Also, 2020 is the year of gay prom. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, we talked about that on Kipo as well. Yeah, it's that's the new thing. And
are you a gay show if you don't have gay prom?
Yeah, no, and evidence says no.
We're 3 for 3 right now. Okay,
but yeah, so we're gonna talk about that context of like it was only season 1. So what are we gonna see from the female pairing in season 2? So that's like good. And the only thing I want to mention for what Beatriz was talking about, it was that the experience of watching Owl House from the beginning and talking about it is somewhere along the lines of around Grom. There was kind of like an explosion of interest, and the fandom grew a lot, and it definitely seems like a lot of people migrated from like She-Ra and from other like queer oriented shows.
As far as I'm concerned, She-Ra was just like, okay, on to the Owl House. Like the entire fandom was just like, let's move.
Yeah. Which, you know, it's I think it's been exciting. It's also been like a lot for us who are kind of like there, like sitting there in the beginning. It's like, here's all these people, and they're being like really intense about shipping. It's like, okay, like it's exciting though.
We're here. It's cool.
So yeah, well, that's why we're trying to tailor this content to all these Lumity podcasts. That's what we're doing.
Also, we all know, like, when you start getting the hints, you're like, give me more. It's like Dylan reading the fanfic I sent him, skipping everything that's not Lumity, because that's what we're here for.
Don't call. They don't know the context for that. There's not. We'll mention what fanfic it is in a second, I guess.
It's a good fanfic.
Okay, so since we mentioned it, well, Delaney, let's get into what you've been watching. But you can mention your Lumity stuff that you've written down here.
So I've been watching nothing because I play Assassin's Creed all day, and I've also been working a lot because my life sucks. But we still haven't watched Infinity Train. This is going to be the running gag. So we haven't finished Infinity Train, and we haven't watched.
Okay, come back when you can bring it up next time when you've watched. Yeah.
So I haven't really been watching anything, but now this has been a bit. So when Owl House ended, and my Twitter, I've been tailoring my Twitter more, and because I've rebranded now that I stream. But I've been going through, I literally started following all these fan artists, and I commissioned 3 Lumity fan art. So this is also the first time I've actually commissioned fan art. I order a lot of art for Tanya, just prints of from our favorite artists. So this was the first time I've commissioned anything, and none of them were huge commissions, but they were. I mean, I love all of them. I commissioned La Fire Chicken, Banana Bluff, and Catsy the Devil for one is it's just Luz in an otter costume, because they wanted to just do characters in pajamas, and I was like, please put Luz in otter pajamas. And then the others are Lumity, and one's they're studying with Luz's light spell, and they're being really cute, and then there's one where they're making each other flower crowns, and they're so precious. And then my wife was like, "Can you please calm down for 30 seconds?" Because I did all of this in the span of a week. I was like, "Look at all this fan art!" It was bad. So I love fan art. I love just art in general. We like to buy. We have a lot of prints all over our house. I think me wanting to frame a Lumity fan art might push my wife a little too far, though she does let me have my Korra posters, so that's something. And then I wrote a Lumity fanfic. I haven't written a fanfic since... Oh, geez. Was it Carmilla? Was that the last time I wrote a fanfic?
I was going to say don't say Supergirl, but okay, Carmilla.
Sure. Okay, you're right. It was Supergirl. It was Supergirl. You're right. That's unfortunate. That I blocked that out because Supergirl ruined live action television for me. It's fine. So it's been 4 or 5 years since I wrote a fanfic, and I actually wrote a fairly long fanfic. So it's on AO3. It's called I don't remember.
Heat?
You wrote this and you don't remember?
God, I can look it up. I forgot. It's something.
Is your username Burrito Noir?
No, that is not my username on my username on Archive is Solvent.
Yeah, it's something with heat in it, right?
Yeah, it's Flash Heat. That's
Flash. Okay, yeah.
My fic is Flash Heat. It's set right after Wing It Like Witches. Yeah. So
it's great.
I might write more. Who knows? Most of my time is spent reading fan fiction and playing video games.
Yeah, you claim in the past you've claimed to have read every Lumity fanfic in existence.
Okay,
is that true?
So if it's been completed and it's Lumity, the likelihood that I've read it is basically 95%.
Okay. Can we test this out though? Can I go on Andy right now?
You could do that. So the one Delaney sent me recently is the Mestival by I Make Arrows.
It's so good. Mestival's so good.
I'm right at the end. It is very good.
I'm also living for this new era where I know people used to do this in the past, but I feel like this is especially because AO3 doesn't suck like fanfiction.net. So the more and more fics I read have fan art in them, and it's so good.
Yeah, this is.
I have read every single fic that Rohad has written. I love their Moonlight series, the Moonlight Masquerade. Yeah, so good. Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah,
it is so
I think that good. Is. Yeah, there's fan art by Raspy. Yeah, who we love them. Yeah. Yeah. So, we're gonna do the Beatriz questions Delaney game.
Yeah. So if it's over, so it has to be. I don't read anything that's finished that's less than 1,000 words. So that's how I filter. It's Lumity.
Have you
over
read,
1,000 words.
Okay. Have you read Bringing Light?
I have to have the summary. I don't necessarily know all the names.
Luz and Amity are tasked with finding the mysterious reader of emotions located in the darkest cave of Boiling Isles. Luz is excited.
No, I haven't read that. I know I've seen that one, but I haven't read it.
Oh no, 0 for 1. That's
I skipped over that one.
That's not good.
Okay,
this on the tags.
All right. I don't know. I just picked up I honestly just went by word count. Have you read The Beast Inside? Sorry. Also Bringing Light by Key the Wolf. I don't want to not give shots to the writers. The Beast Inside by Fenrir Fox. Luz Noceda, the only human resident of the Boiling Isles.
No, because that's one where she's cursed. I don't read a lot of those. I only read 2 of those.
Okay.
The thing is, I know all the fics she's talking about. I've seen them. I know what she's talking about.
Yeah, at least you knew what that was. Okay, interesting. Okay, we'll come back to this game.
There's a certain type I like to read, but I mean, to be fair, I will say between August to probably late October, I have read all of them. I've slacked off in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, you got to catch up on the Lumity fix.
So much
it's very
Lumity
important.
fanfic.
It's very important.
Good.
Okay, but thank you for your Lumity fandom update there.
There's a lot. It's great.
Well, what we could obviously also talk about it during the main subject. What I was going to go to first before we had a segue into that, but I was going to say the biggest thing we've been watching. So yeah, we're going to also have a segment where we talk about any animated shows we've been watching that we're not podcasting specifically on. But I was going to say the biggest weekly thing right now, RWBY has come back. Not to transition too heavily from happy stuff to us not being as happy. But yeah,
it can be like a sandwich. She's good, bad, good.
Yeah, we'll get back into this. RWBY Volume 8. And no, we're not podcasting on RWBY, but here you can hear our opinions for 5 seconds here. So the first 2 episodes have aired.
It was the first. Oh, I did get that email. Okay, it was 2.
What email?
You get emails from Rooster Teeth saying new episode.
Yeah,
I get
2 episodes. Yeah, Beatriz, any thoughts you want to give us on the first 2 episodes?
So I really think Yang is pretty. She's really
noted Yang stan Beatriz. Yeah.
Yang gang, #Yang gang.
I'm a Blake stan. I just wanted out.
Have you reclaimed that hashtag now that it's been a while since the other thing is gone?
Listen, the fact no one even remembers the other thing. That means that Yang gang has only ever been for Yang Xiaolong. Okay, thank you.
This is true. You're right.
So I'm still gonna watch the show. I just, I think there's too many characters. I think they're focusing on the wrong characters, and the opening and who they focused on in that opening sequence makes me worried that they're going to focus even more on characters that are not the titular characters of Team RWBY. I think Yang is so pretty. You guys, do you know how pretty she is? I think she's just so pretty. Her, she did this really cool thing on a motorcycle. And she looked really cool when when this really crazy thing happened.
Yeah, we'll put up a spoiler
warning. I really appreciate you trying not just say she's really hot. I like your wordplay that you're using.
Okay, all right, listen.
It was spoiler warning for the first episode.
I'm gonna be vague about what happened.
Yeah.
It's I'm not gonna be specific.
She stole a bike or something, right? I think that.
Yeah, that was my question. I was did she get her bike back? Because I don't
know. I'm not gonna tell you. You gotta watch to figure it out. You know what I mean? It's very vague, but no, there's a big thing that happened at the end of episode 2 that happens, and it's very frustrating because I just don't think that they did it well. And she just stood there, and even though she just stood there, and it was very frustrating for me because I'm why are you just standing there? I also was wow, she's so pretty. You know what I mean?
Look, if she stands there, there's more time to admire her.
It's true.
Negative, positive, she's really pretty. Negative is storytelling. Oh, that's not great. All right, so yeah, that's my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. So, see, my general thoughts are I'm just not going to be interested in the plot of the show this season. I can tell. Not that I was last season either, but these were I was not very interested. I have a question, Beatriz. You can pass if you want. You cannot answer this. But I feel last season, and I think probably a large factor was that we were both doing podcasts on it. So I think that requires interest. It's a completely different experience now, but I feel you were portraying you yourself being more into the plot last season than necessarily some of the rest of us were. Has that changed? Do you think they've done something differently, or do you think it's maybe just different circumstances watching it?
Cause I was more invested. It's just I think last season I was okay. Cause I guess the way I think it's more, there was a the decision they made, it was a very clear decision. This is something you see in the trailer, so this isn't something like, I don't think it's a big spoiler. They intentionally divided them. Like for me, them being like last season, it's like, okay, but the team is together. Are they focusing on the wrong thing? Sure, why not? But whatever. But I was like, okay, let's see what you're going to start to do. Maybe you're just going to start setting things for this next volume. But in this one, they're intentionally breaking them up to, I don't know, echo divisions in real life, I guess. But I'm like, it felt forced, and that's what's really frustrating.
Wait, are you telling me after having them divided for forever and then bringing them back?
It's book 4 again. Yeah.
No.
Not really.
And I'm alone. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be alone in this. But at least like when they were divided in volume 4, it made sense in a story because there was this crazy thing that happened in volume 3, right? This crazy thing. Like Yang was injured, like Blake ran away because that's like it fits, and then Weiss was taken away. Like whatever the quality of you make about volume 4, how you feel about its quality, the reasons they had parted made sense. In this one, to me, they're splitting the team for no reason. Like there's no they don't have to. And like people are gonna argue, they're like, yeah, there is a reason. They spelled it out really clear. One thinks this way, the other thinks the other way, and that's why they're splitting up.
It's a contrived conflict. That's why.
I just personally don't think if they had sown Yang's trepidations in the previous season more. In the previous volume more, then maybe I'd buy why they'd split up so extremely in this one, but they didn't. And part of it is because of this ongoing issue with RWBY, in that they have too many characters and they're not focusing on the right ones. And for some reason, they hate to focus on the main 4. They want to focus on everyone else. Yeah. So
okay,
that's my thing.
There you go. That's I'll go quickly through my notes. We'll see how often we check in on RWBY. Probably not for another month after
I
this.
will say Dylan sent me a fic, and I read it was Bumblebee and White Rose, and it was good. That's it.
Yeah, I could plug the White Rose fics I've been reading. I'll find that. That's much more interesting than the show. But they said after a season of teasing Blake and Yang getting together, and then once again not doing it, they make the decision early on the season to split them up. So yeah, it's like instantly just like,
now
what
I'm
are you
extra.
Doing? My other thoughts, the opening, the new OP is amazing. I love it. I love the shots in the beginning with each of the characters and like an old image of them.
Even though Yang's expression is weird because everyone else is so serious, and she's like, ha ha, like here I am. It's like it's a cute smiling face, but everyone else, like, read the room, Yang. Come on, like what's going on?
She would though. She would.
She is very upset. So I'm like, what is going on?
Episode 1, I think they're trying to like make clear it's a super dark season. I'm not interested. Here are my episode 2 notes. There's a character that we learn is alive, and I was just like face palming. I can't believe it. There's a nuts and Dolt scene, RWBY and Penny. I love that scene in episode 2. I think that was great. I love Wooloo, who's our name for Fiona. I think
she's still around.
She's great. Okay, and then the end scene, I completely agree. The end scene in episode 2 made no sense, like what Beatriz said. The internal logic. RWBY's the only show we talk about internal logic. Like, why are the characters behaving like they are? It just didn't make any sense. That being said, volume 6, there's one horror episode, and we're like, wow, that was really good. Maybe they should do more horror stuff. And I think this was them bringing it back here at the end of episode 2, and I actually think it really worked. Like, if you can somehow ignore the internal logic of that scene, I think the horror elements were really successful.
Oh, for sure. Like, that's how I try to reason with myself. I'm like, okay, they've never seen this happen. I guess it's supposed to be this like crazy pivotal change in their ideas of that thing. So I understand, but it just based on their experience at this point, I'd expect them to react a little faster. And like they didn't. I just don't think it was executed.
It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. But it was. I agree. It's not executed that well. But it was. I think like the aesthetic. I like the aesthetic of it. Anyway, not the greatest start to the season. So we'll check in a month here, and we'll see.
Should I watch it to torture myself, or wait until season 13 when Bumblebee finally happens?
The latter.
I mean, your call.
If you want torture,
because that's what I did last time. I waited until volume 6, and I caught up, and then I was like,
Wait until the end. Wait until volume 8 is done, and then binge it. That's my suggestion.
That sounds good.
I think RWBY's a great show to binge.
I do think I agree with that. It is a good show to binge.
Yeah. Anyway, the more importantly, the White Rose fanfics I was reading are by Miko Tzini or Miko Tyzini. Yeah, specifically, oh God, she's hot, which is like the best White Rose fanfic I've ever read. I highly recommend. It's inappropriate, but I highly recommend that fanfic. Okay.
Not if you're a child, but
a lot of this stuff not for okay. There you go. There's RWBY Corner. If you were just no more RWBY podcast, don't ask me, but we'll check in.
It's not happening. I'm sorry.
We're done. See the Volume 7 finale podcast. See that podcast. Okay, Sarah, what have you been watching to get it? Bring us back to better fare.
Yeah, not RWBY.
Yeah.
I finally, very exciting, caught up in the final season of Kipo. I was a little late to that party, but I loved it. It was such a fun final season. I sobbed through the end of the finale. It just got me right in the gut. It was amazing. The final scene, I won't spoil it, but that was everything. Loved that we got Troy and Benson. Loved the K-pop narwhals and Doge.
K-pop narwhals, Beatriz. K-pop narwhals.
Yep, K-pop narwhals.
Yeah, no, it was a lovely season. I'm so glad that we were able to watch this show and I was able to catch up.
Yay.
Sarah was live texting me about it. I was like, yes.
Yes, I was like, Delaney, I'm ugly sobbing.
And I was like, yes. It's okay. Me and Tanya super ugly sobbed through the whole season. It's okay. We had to keep pausing it to cry.
Love it. Yeah, we did do a Kipo season 3 podcast. You can check that out. Yeah, I don't know. Could we convince Beatriz to watch Kipo?
I started watching it, and it has everything I like. It has this giant. It's the one with the giant bunny, right? It's the one.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. We were like, "There's a giant bunny here."
I know I should watch it. I'm just very bad at getting
it's done now, so it doesn't matter for the podcast.
I've gotten
it's just a fun thing. Yeah.
3 people to watch Kipo. 2 of them have finished, and so as I did with Cora in college, I'm spreading the gospel of Kipo.
Good. Okay, that's you've said it's your new Cora, so
it is my new Cora. It's true.
Okay, spreading the gospel. That's good. Okay. Well, what else, Beatriz, besides RWBY though? Have you've said you are a big weeb now? I don't know if you said that, but
I mean, I was a weeb when I was younger. When I was like,
are you returning to your roots?
Yeah, basically. Especially, yeah. I moved back home with the parents, so I'm in my old room, and I was like, damn,
big weeb.
So I'm really going back to that.
Are you tearing down weeb posters and putting up new ones, or is it just
implying that there's not just K-pop posters everywhere?
No, I did take down my K-pop posters
to replace them with new K-pop.
No. I replaced. Okay, you must know. I replaced them with a Birds of Prey poster because if no one's seen that movie.
Oh my god!
And I also put in.
I'll be honest.
Listen, and I also put in a Michael Jordan and a LeBron James poster because they're great. So
Wonder Girl show.
There's a Wonder Girl show?
Wonder Girl show. My brother actually just told me about it before we got on the podcast, and I just remembered it because you said Birds of Prey.
Is it like CW?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. You keep talking while I'm on.
Anyway, but that's none of that is animation. But animation wise, I've been watching a couple of shows, anime shows. 3 are the real big ones for me. One big for not the one I watched is called Adachi to Shimamura. It's like the big beauty show of this season of anime. I'm only watching it because it's really like the big gay show of the season. If it weren't gay, I wouldn't like it. And even though it is gay, I don't know if I like it. But I'm mentioning it here because, hey, if there are people who are desperate for something, that's there if you want to see it.
Is it anime gay or actual gay?
No, I think it's like it's anime gay, but it's like how do I say this? Because it's very obvious. It's like it's clear. Like it's not like it's like it's subtext. No, it's text. Like it's text.
But they're not kissing. But it's clear.
No, they're not. But I feel like it's like we're building up to it. Possibly.
Okay.
It's something that it's a build up. Because it wouldn't make sense just yet. Right now, like one of them is oblivious, the other one's figuring out her feelings. So it's like
Lumity. It's like they haven't kissed yet, but it's happening.
That you just disrespected Lumity and you have no idea.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't compare Lumity to anime.
Okay, basically the best way to describe this is I'm still watching the show. Similarly, I'm still watching it, so it's like I don't know. I'm just jaded. But yeah, it's the best way to describe it is like somewhat, because it's an adaptation of a light novel series, and I read a review of the light novel series, and the reviewer, she was like, this is like a writer writing about a certain type of emotion yet not understanding what that emotion is, and I didn't understand when I read that review what she meant. Then I watched the show, and now I understand exactly what she means. So yeah, it's just kind of weird. It's like it's awkward. Like I'm like, these they don't seem like real people. They seem like anime girls. But you know what? It's like it's fine. TM. It's not the worst I've seen.
Fine.
But I'm just letting everyone know it's there. So if you want to see it, it's like that's something that you can watch. But on the other end, amazing show. I am coming back to anime. So this show it's already aired. It aired, I think, last year. It's called Demon Slayer.
Yeah, everyone keeps telling me to watch it.
It is amazing. Listen. If anyone says that is a bad show, I will genuinely think less of their opinions. And it's like it's one thing. It's one thing if you go like, oh, that show's just not for me. But it's like that's fine. That's a fair comment. But it's like, oh, I genuinely think this is a poor show and it's poorly executed. I will genuinely think bad about your opinions. I will think less of them if you think that way, because it is an amazing show. Like, someone could like it. They could think it's good. They could think it's great, amazing. But the lowest opinion of the show is it is an okay to good show, because it is that good. It is so good.
It's very popular. This is one of the
it's very popular.
You can tell me if this is true, Beatriz. But Demon Slayer seems to be. I've not watched it. It doesn't seem like my type of show. But I mean, it seems to be the most popular anime of its season that is actually not good and not problematic. Which is rare. Would you agree?
Because listen, people have different definitions of what and different ranges of what it means to be problematic. Something might not be that isn't problematic to me might be problematic to someone else. So I can't say that, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's a really great. It was just it is one of those shows that it's like I can safely recommend it to someone and be like, it's too good. You're gonna like this. I can recommend it to someone who isn't into anime and feel like, okay, there are those shows that you can recommend to people that have never watched an anime before, and you're like, oh, well, this is something that you'll like Death Note, Full Metal Alchemist, there are just certain shows that you can just be like Orin High School Host Club, you know what I mean? Those are shows that you can just give it to them, and you're like, this is a good show, so I don't have to worry about you being like, oh, this is too weird of a tone for me and I can't get into it. So it's one of those. It's one of those that's just so universally good that you just can't. It's there's no words.
I think people are on board with your Demon Slayer takes. It's very popular. Yeah.
And the movie just came out and it's breaking box office records in Japan. So which to me tells me, again, just further emphasize, it's a very mainstream show that is deservedly very popular and deserves all the accolades it receives. And then on kind of another end, then the show I'm hyper fixated on. This is this other show I'm watching. Sorry, I'm ranting a little bit, but this is, if of all the shows, this is the one I love. This is the one I care for. Demon Slayer, I can recommend, I can recommend to people, but it's not on my mind 24/7. This one is. It's called Kakegurui. It is a show about gambling. A lot of people call it the gambling anime. It's on Netflix. It's got 2 seasons. Do I recommend it to people? Absolutely not, because it's so specific. It's a very successful series. It's got a live action drama adaptation. That drama is now has 2 movies. One of them's coming out. It's a very successful series, but it's one of those where it's it's not Kill la Kill, but it's similar in that I don't know if it's like for everyone. Does that make sense?
Kakegurui compulsive gambler.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
It's a gambling show?
Yeah, it's a gambling show, and of course there's gay in it, and it's not subtext or like someone like there is something that happens and there's no kiss, but there's something that happens and there's no heterosexual explanation for it, and it's amazing. It's such a good show.
I see two girls embracing on the poster.
Two girls. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, all right. Anyway, so it's great, and
I gotta look this up now.
But like, warning, like this is the one that I love, but like if someone said, "Oh, I don't like this," I'd be like, "That's fair. That's completely fair." It's this weird thing where like the show that I care about the most, the one that I love the most, the one that I'm like obsessing over, is the one I'm also like I'm more cautious to recommend to people because I'm like this is very specific. It's a very specific taste for, I guess, like I can easily see someone watching it being like, "Oh no, this is not for me," and then walking away. But it's so good. It's so good. Anyway.
Nice. Yeah.
Sorry, now I'm just thinking about my ship, and it's just so glorious.
Okay, that's the new fandom, Beatriz. Then, you have Delaney link to the Wonder Girl TV series.
I'm gonna give the summary for Beatriz because she's gonna freak out as I speak. So it's based on the comics, it's about a Latina dreamer, and she is Amazonian and also the daughter of like an Amazon river god. Okay. And she and in the comics, she was recently revealed to be the new Wonder Woman. So like, so this is her TV show, Wonder Girl. So this is really exciting. So this will be the first time with a Latina main character in the DC universe.
Okay. All right. This is exciting. I love pairing like the whole dreamer thing with Amazons. Because again, Amazons are not are like from America. They're immigrants if they leave Themyscira.
Correct.
Love that.
They're also blending like her being an Amazon and then also her heritage as a Latina, which I think is interesting. I will. That will be interesting.
We'll break this down more later. This is not in the podcast, but
okay. Just one thing, but I am worried because it is CW. So
yes. Yeah, I don't watch that anymore. I understand.
See Delaney's comments on Supergirl earlier in the podcast.
Comments on Supergirl.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay, that was breaking news today. So
it was breaking news today.
We broke this news on the podcast. Okay, there you go. Any other anime things, Beatriz?
Oh, yeah. If anyone wants any like quick recommendations, there's a show that is really fun and that stars a Bicon disaster. It's called My Next Life as a Villainess. If you haven't watched it, it's just a really fun, lighthearted show. If you need something to like just, laugh with and enjoy and not have to think too hard about and just have a good time with, that's like a really good show, especially for the year that we've had. Like that was one that I watched like I want to say in August or in July, and it was just like, it was like a heavy day, and then I put it on and streamed it with some friends, and it was like, wow, this is like a really fun show. And then we just binged it. So that's
we're really, really bored. Tay and I will watch Psyche K.
What is Psyche K?
Oh, it's like he's like psychic, and he has like a bunch of superpowers. But like he's so bored of everything around him, and so he just wants everyone to leave him alone, but no one leaves him alone.
What is this?
What's it called? Like the full name of it. It's based off I'm pretty sure it's a manga.
You're watching an anime?
The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. It's on Netflix. My friend showed it to us, and it's really short. And like there's I was
thrown off by you having seen an anime.
I know, and so when we're really bored,
I see.
Watch it because it's really funny.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen like
okay. It's funny.
Character, okay.
Like it's like you talking about it being silly. Yeah, God. Okay.
Well, all right. Well, the premise of this one is like it's an isekai, but it's in a dating sim basically. So this girl gets reborn in basically wakes up in the body of the villainess of a dating sim, and she's basically trying to find. But she's like was obsessed with this game, so she knows all the routes that you could take. And she's like, okay, how do I find a way to not get the bad ending for me? Because I'm the villainess in this, so I'm destined to have a bad ending. So
that's interesting.
And basically, what she does is she manages to get all the romantic interests, even the female romantic interests, to fall for her.
Okay, this is good.
So it's like, that's what I mean. She's great. It's a great show. It's fun. Anyway, so that's my other recommendation. There's also another show I'm watching that's actually coming out this season called Wandering Witch, which is at times can be really good, at times can be really bad. Yeah, so that's that. That's
okay. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a lot of anime, but
a lot of anime.
Okay. We like it. Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to mention for what we've been watching was I did watch the first episode of Helluva Boss, which is the new another show by Vivian Medrano, the people who made Has-Been Hotel. First episode came out on YouTube. It's very inappropriate, so warning there. But,
is Has-Been Hotel on YouTube?
Yeah, the first episode. Yeah, Has-Been Hotel got picked up to be a series. We love that Has-Been Hotel. I'm less into Helluva Boss, not as much my cup of tea. It's for 15 minutes the first episode if you want to check it out. Very violent and stuff, but I did like some some of the satire at the end of the episode. So I thought it was kind of clever, but yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see if I check more of it out. But we're definitely on the lookout for more Has-Been Hotel news. Though at the very least, we did a podcast on that. If you want to check out our thoughts on the Has-Been pilot. But there you go. I think that's gonna wrap up everything we've been watching. I was gonna say that would be a shorter one. We did talk about a lot of stuff, but there's a ton of stuff coming out next week. This podcast coming out on Wednesday, the following day. The Adventure Time Obsidian is coming out, so that's why we talked about it. Yeah, the podcast came out before it. And then there's new Animaniacs and Onyx Equinox coming out that weekend. So a lot of stuff happening and some interesting animation releases. Okay, let's get into our main topic, Lumity Season 2 Wishlist now. Exciting. I wanted to start off with some high-level framing questions, just because I think it's hard to talk about a potential Season 2 without at least mentioning some things. But
and then shipping.
And then shipping. Is that what you said? And then
yes.
Yeah, and then shipping obviously is the rest of it. But we're planning on doing a broader Season 2 speculation podcast, so we don't need to talk about this for a while. I just wanted to bring it up. But my question, after the way Season 1 ended, I'm like, okay, I feel like this could go Luz confronted the Emperor. Maybe they're going to be on the run now, and they're going to be exiled from Bonesborough into the broader Boiling Isles. Is Amity going to go with them? Is she not? Are they going to go to Hexside anymore? No more magic school? Or is everything going to go basically back to normal and they're going to be living in the Owl House? That's kind of one of the, and I feel like they're basically at a point where they could do either of those things from a writing perspective. I think they could basically start Season 2 however they want. Thinking about this little, my guess is that it's going to reset to status quo, in terms of what's going to happen. Because I think there's Belos sends a spy after them to spy at the Owl House. So presumably they're still going to be in the Owl House. Maybe the Owl House could move places. We saw that once.
That's something. That's true.
But yeah, anyway, so that I don't know if anyone has thoughts on that. But basically, it's how much are we going back to the Season 1 status quo?
As someone who's read a lot of fan fiction, I will say the fandom seems pretty split on this. What happens? So a lot of fics are either set before or they completely ignore the events. But so the reason I bring that up is that I've had a lot of time to explore both options in fan fictions, because I think I will say my impression at the end of Season 1 was that. So it was an interesting exchange, and I think it was an interesting finale in that we have Luz did get the upper hand, but then Belos was able to spin it around and be like, oh, this was all my plan all along. And so basically Ida has been pardoned, which I think is interesting. So I don't know if she's going to be pardoned forever. Is this going to preclude other sketchy things we do in the future? Unsure. But she has been pardoned for her crimes. They were like, okay, look, you're fine. You freed yourself. You're still a monster. You got cursed, but I'm not going to try and hunt you down anymore. So that's something. So I would say everything's going to go back to normal for the people are going to talk about it. I'm curious if we're really going to address it. First thing, is Luz going to go back to school and everyone's going to be like, oh my God, I saw you on the news. But I feel like that would be a good first episode, especially because Willow and Gus were, Willow led a rebellion to the Emperor. That was crazy.
Yeah.
So like, I think we're going back to normal because that was the thing too, it took a long time for this show to find its footing. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean, we weren't sure what kind of show this was going to be yet. Like, we were like, is this going to be like, random adventures? Are we going to school? And the answer is yes, because it's both. But, we've gotten to this routine of school. And so I think we are sticking to that. And it feels really comfortable, especially now that we've cemented Luz at Hexside. And, she's changed Hexside. And especially now with like Amity, and so and even with Basha, like I think we're really like settling in here. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, probably we're gonna go back to most of the season 1 status quo, but I think it's interesting at least to bring up and consider the.
I mean, there's definitely
possibilities.
You're right that it could be either way.
There is a version of season 2 where they're on the run, but
yes.
I think that would be interesting.
I think that might be later. Like, honestly, like
yeah, I think probably we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense to like, because I don't think that if they were on the run that it would make sense for Amity to go with them, just because there's so many barriers for her to be able to just leave school and their parents.
But later it'll happen.
And because they're not like a couple yet, which we will be talking about, of course.
They're not.
And
they're not.
Her legs broken still, so running away would be also very
hard.
hard.
That's why Luz needs to carry her away.
I want it to be. I love it when we start right where we left off. And also, again, like, how much time do we have left? Like, how close are we to summer's end? So, like, and so it's like, but I also want Amity's leg to be healed.
So we have an ultimatum with Bella's building the portal.
In the same place.
Yeah,
and Amity's leg will be healed by the beginning of the season
because it's magic. They can shorten it a little bit.
The reason her leg was broken is so she wouldn't be in the finale. Now that that's gone, her leg will be healed.
It's true. You're right. You're right.
That's what happened. So is Amity living in the Owl House? Probably no, but at least that's like an option, I guess.
Those are good fics. I love them. By the way,
probably not right away. And then this question. So Beatriz put this on them for context. I think towards the end of season 1, some of us brought up this. In convention, Lilith is presented as Amity's mentor. And so there's this notion of like, will Amity have to choose Lilith or Luz, like if those are in opposition? And so that was kind of a big talking point. They mostly just ignored that part of convention. So now it's kind of resolved since Lilith is on the good side, probably. That's also not 100% clear, but probably.
Well, I think this clears up that concern because I was concerned because I was like, look, we can have drama. We all like drama, but I don't want this. Like, the most drama right now is that Luz is an idiot, and I would like it to keep it that way right now. So like, I think that like. I'm pretty sad.
You mean drama in terms of Lumity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant drama in terms of Lumity. We can have other drama.
Who cares about the Emperor?
Yeah, the other drama, I don't care.
No, but this notion that like Amity is like, if Luz is part of a rebellion and her family is firmly in like the Emperor's pocket, I think this is a very relevant question that Beatriz poses of like, will Amity like be forced to choose one, like Luz or the Emperor, right?
I think the answer is yes, but like I think it's obvious what she'll choose, which I think is why this I think this is a good way to go.
And we know based on what Dana has said that Amity's parents will be characters in this upcoming season, so I think that's going to play into that. Yeah, Beatriz, what do you think about that? Are you excited for this potential conflict of Amity going against her parents' like desires to be with Luz?
Well, I first want to state that like I am all for drama with Lumity. Like, I don't need it to just be with them. But it has to be like good drama. It can't be like silly stuff. Like, it can't be like I don't know, like, oh, I saw her talking to this boy. What does that mean? Like, no,
I agree with you. You know what? This is how I feel also.
Dramas like that actually are there because of actual character driven and make sense, that I'm all for. Which means like, well told stories. That's what I'm all for. But when it comes to this, I think it could be a really interesting sort of dynamic. I was rewatching the scenes and like one of the Amity's first real like when her and Luz kind of like butt heads is because she is saying like she's worked her entire life to join the Emperor Coven. Like, that's her sole purpose. And now Luz comes in and kind of made her look bad in that whole convention thing. So I think it's a really neat, I don't think it's as clear of an answer I think maybe like I don't know if like I can still see a world where Amity will choose, at least at first, will choose the Emperor than Luz, because it's her dream, her entire dream for her and her future that she's been working super hard to attain, versus what at this point is a crush. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I get it. Teenagers get swept up in emotions, but also like she's not dumb. She's like,
well,
she
I think
knows
there's more to it than that. In that Amity's really changed as a person.
Well, I mean, that doesn't. I know, I understand that, but I also don't think it's like I don't think her and Luz are there yet, where she's like, I'm willing to risk everything for you.
I would agree with that, but I think it has more to do with she's really,
for instance, like I don't think like if like say we start off like if we open up with her like running away with them, like that wouldn't make sense to me, because I don't think we're there yet.
I think it's fair that
I don't think we're there yet with them. It's like this is like it's like a blooming relationship. It's not. It's like in the very early stages, I think.
Well, I guess what I mean is that Luz represents something. It's not just specifically Luz. Like I do think when this choice is made, they probably won't be together yet. And so what I mean is that like Amity has already begun to question and defy her parents. She's beginning to be friends with Willow again. She, is openly defiant to Basha. And these are things she wouldn't have done before she met Luz. And so we're talking about this change in character. She's braver. She's willing to do what she wants. She knows what she wants. She knows what kind of person she wants to be. And obviously she has a giant crush on Luz. It's embarrassing. But like it's also this like and I think that's part of why it's so compelling, this relationship, is like what Luz brings out in Amity. And I think that's more of what, like, I'd agree that like they're not like madly in love or anything, but Amity like is at this point when we start to get there. And yes, I definitely think there will still be the tension with her parents, and they'll do horrible things and horrible things will be said, and maybe even Amity will revert back for a little bit, or there'll be some sort of conflict with that. But we're at the point where like there has been a legitimate change in Amity's character, especially if you go from episode 5 to now. And so I think that's more what it's about.
I agree that there is a change, but I also don't think. I mean, I think it's different, her standing up to her friends and her standing up to her parents. And I don't think she's been like, it's like she's done like the smaller steps, but like the real like test of like, okay, where do your loyalties lie? I think it's still something where like the answer to that I don't think is 100% certain yet. She's moving in the right direction. She's growing as a person, but I don't think it's like, but like there's still room left to grow, and she hasn't. It's like I like, for instance, I just don't think like it's like, okay, she's changed. She's changed. She's completely.
Oh no, I agree, but I'm just saying that like that's where we're going. It's very clear. So
right, but the thing is, I don't know if it'll be in season 2 or if that will be in season 5.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yes, but I think a large part of this is that a lot of where this is coming from for me is this one episode convention, which I think this is once again. I feel like people keep bringing stuff up from convention about Amity's desire. We went through this kind of with like Lilith being her mentor. And I feel like the show has just moved past this episode. Two things, one of which is Amity's grown since then. Delaney talked about it really well. The second thing is I think the show is just kind of ignoring that episode to a certain extent. But in terms of the notion of like, will Amity like face a conflict with, will she follow her parents? Or like, there's going to be conflict there. And I do think it's not like Amity's instantly going to say like, right. Tell her parents off. That's going to be a plot line.
Like it's going to be drama.
That'll be drama, and probably it'll involve her siblings as well, which I think is interesting. I think they went so hard into this swing with Amity's character that the outcome is not in doubt. Nor do I think we'll do like a dark Amity arc or anything.
Which is what I like. This is good stuff.
I don't think that's in play, but I think there'll be some resistance along the way in this season. I think that's fair to say. But in terms of like the whole like Amity's whole character setup is that she wants to be in the Emperor's Coven, and if the show wants to go in that direction, it needs to bring it up again, because it really has not done anything with that in a long time. But so they might do that. They might bring it up again in season 2.
The same thing happened with Willow. Like we literally, within the span of 2 episodes, we have Willow droning on and on and on about how the Emperor brought peace to the Boiling Isles, and then in the next episode she's literally on the news being like, Ada did nothing wrong. So I think there's there's a lot of, and I think, and not that the show is like, necessarily done anything poorly. The show's juggling a lot of balls at once right now, and
it was finding itself. I will say, I was pretty critical of this sort of thing in season 1 as we're going along, but the finale, I think, like made it a little, it clarified it for me, because Belos is like a new emperor. Like this is like a new order.
And he's only been here for like 50 years. Like
50 years, so it kind of makes sense to me that this would be a status quo that's capable of being broken pretty quickly. Like this is like it's like a pretty new thing for these people. So I think that's a really interesting place. That I haven't seen
in the lifetime, I would assume, of Ida, and well, they're not quite that old, but Ida makes things difficult because she looks so old and she's pretending she's his older sister. But like we are talking about in the lifetime of residents of the Boiling Isles, like, obviously the kids weren't, but parents and grandparents were. They do know what it was like before, so I think this will be interesting.
So I feel like the biggest question that came up out of that discussion was like, will this be resolved in season 2? So let's transition to like this. I feel like this is tied into one of the big questions. We've been talking about it for a long time. Will Lumity start dating soon within the span of the show? How about for the sake of this podcast, this season, it's a season 2 wishlist, will they start dating this season?
Yes.
And I think Beatriz brings up the fact that there might be obstacles that Amity would have to overcome to get to that point. So could those be overcome? I mean, I think yes, but will they? Like,
well, I don't necessarily think the obstacles are the obstacle to them dating. I think it's the obstacle to the greater conflict going on in the show.
Right. It's like until until Belos's portal is active, then I don't think Amity is forced to make this decision. Like she could start dating Luz in the meantime, because there's no ultimate. If Belos is okay without them being at the Owl House and just being like ignoring them, keeping tabs on them, then it doesn't really matter. Like her parents aren't going to get upset or anything.
And also the parent thing, like. So she was like, I can't be friends with Willow, but now she is. And then at the same, I do think the biggest barrier to Amity dating Luz is Amity, because she's a giant idiot, and she's like, I can't talk to Luz.
Not Luz's obliviousness. That's not the biggest.
That's
barrier?
all. I think they're equivalent barriers. Like Amity couldn't give her help. Like I think they're equal barriers.
Sarah, what's your read on overall? What's your read on this situation right now in terms of like, are you expecting them to start dating this season? Do you think it would be good for the arc for them to start dating this season?
I think that I don't know if they're gonna be like super duper official dating, but I think that there's definitely going to be some kind of concrete step in the relationship of their feelings being
interesting,
revealed to each other. And I think
so they're going to reveal their feelings,
right? And I think that like the journey of like them having feelings and getting to the point of dating, like maybe there will be a little bit of obstacles because of, say, like Amity's parents. And then potentially by the end of the season, it culminates with them being together. But like, I'm wary of having my expectations too high. Like, I mean, if they start dating this season, I will be beyond happy. But like, I don't want to be like, yeah, they have to, and they're definitely going to, because I think that they could play out the sort of the really exciting drama of them both having feelings for each other, and like because I think that can be explored within the context of a season without it feeling like it's being drawn out too much the way that other shows have done it. Like, I think that there's room for it to be.
Well, I think they've done a good job of sidelining the main plot. Like, that's basically what we've done now, is with the finale, we've sidelined the main plot. And so we have plenty of time now, whatever the portal, what if we don't see Belos until the end of the season? Like, because we like Lilith is, here with us now. So she was like kind of the main antagonist for a while. And, because she would just show up randomly trying to like snatch Ida. And so I think there's a lot of room, we could do this really slow game. And I'm not opposed to it. Like this, what you were talking about is, really build it up and deal with the more like interpersonal conflicts, Amy's parents, this other school drama, whatever. And then, maybe in like the last couple episodes, things start to come to a head, as I would assume. I'm sure the portal has something to do with when, Luz needs to go home, that's how that stuff works. So it'll be, I think we maybe, I'm kind of on, like, I definitely think they'll be like, I don't know, like, do I want them to be dating like in the middle of the season? Or, would I be satisfied if they were dating at the end? Yeah. Like of the season, I mean. And so, we do, they've essentially sidelined the main plot. We really have a lot of time to dabble, I think, in like different things that are going on.
Yeah, but potentially we can take a break from the Bellows stuff, considering how they set stuff up at the end of the season. Potentially. We don't really know what they're going to do, but that's
or
an
what
option.
Else will come up. And then we also have to teach Ida and Lilith magic. So like we have different things to deal with.
They're not just done with magic. We reteach them all the magic. Yeah.
Well, yeah, with Luz's runes, duh.
Yeah, Luz will be the teacher now, and we flip that. Yeah, that's probably okay. We'll talk about that the other non-Lumity podcast. But Sarah brought up expectations. Yeah, I agree. It's tempting to just be like, no, we don't need this to happen. We're just not gonna like go to that space. But I will say we were kind of, once we got in the big build up towards the end of season 1, we were like, yeah, they're gonna kiss in the finale. It's all gonna be. We thought it was gonna happen at the end of season 1. And now I'm like, anytime in season 2.
Like,
if we thought it might happen in season 1, then we should say it should happen in season 2. If that's
like, talk about the movement here. Like, I don't even mean just in comparison to other gay shows. Like, I'm talking about like with Starco. Like, this is crazy. Like where we are right now. Like,
right. So the broader question we've been discussing is like, will we be doing a will they won't they series long will they won't they with Lumity, which is, it doesn't seem like that's the track we're on, but it's what we've expect.
It's the formula.
Expect from most TV shows.
I definitely don't think that they're doing that. Yeah, because I think that they, because they've already been so explicit with these characters and like Amity's feelings, I feel like this show's wanting to subvert that. But I do think that there's room for like, really building up the relationship up to them.
They're gonna make us suffer.
Like, and I don't think it even has to be like super duper suffering. Like, I'm not here for angst, but I am here for a really beautiful blossoming queer relationship. And I think that there's a lot of like, building up to them being together that could be really interesting.
They give Luz a clue. They're like, here you go, Luz. And then then they're both being idiots.
Right. Like all of the flirting, all of the activities together where they're like clearly into each other. Like they've done that, but I think they can do more. And then, bringing them together or bringing it to a breaking point where maybe who knows if they're separated or some other decision needs to be made. But like, I think what they're going to do is be working on building the relationship up more, because they've already, like I've said in previous podcasts, like they really treat this relationship so tenderly with so much attention that like they're not going to want to rush it. And I think there's a fine line between, taking your time for the sake of making it really meaningful and taking your time for it being like, we're just delaying it because we want to till the end of the season
to make it and that's the thing I think also is this is different than previous show. Like, for example, She-Ra, Cachadora, like the relationship between Catra and Adora is the soul of the show, in the way that Aang and Katara's relationship was very much the DNA of Avatar. And I think we're dealing with a different beast. Like, there are greater things going on, and there are other plots in She-Ra and Avatar, but I don't like. Granted, maybe we'll see. Remains to be seen. But based on Dana's comments,
we're not on track for a series long heart of the show
this. Yeah, this isn't like the ending of the show isn't Lumity. Like Lumity.
I mean, it could be in terms of a Katang type of ending. Like that wasn't the heart of Avatar, but they still ended on it, right? Like that's possible.
Well, I will say, I mean, comments from Mike and Brian were that their relationship was the DNA of the show. And it really was.
Yeah, that is true. That the DNA of the show did originate with the Katang in Avatar. That's maybe they got the Cachador from that. Interesting. No, we don't need to get into that. Beatriz, we've been talking about this kind of notion of like, we really don't want this to be a will they won't they series long type thing with Lumity. That's kind of been the talking point. Like, are you on board with like wanting them to get together before the end of the show?
It depends. Well, before the end of the show, of course. But like before the end of the season.
Yeah, that's all I was asking. No, just before. We'll get to the season. How about before the end of the show? Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that's definitely. I absolutely want that, because I want to see. I want to see a show do it where like that happily ever after isn't the first kiss. I want them to. How does this work with like the dynamics of a relationship along with all this? Obviously, I don't. The show's never. I don't think the show's ever going to have like. It be like the sole focus of the show, because that's just not what the show is, But like, yeah, I do want them to eventually get together, of course, before the last episode of a show.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm going to say to get us. I feel like we're hedging. Like it doesn't have to be this season. Okay. Here's what I'm going to say.
Well,
here's Disney shows are not that long. So Disney shows typically are 4 seasons, and I think we'll be lucky to see 4 seasons of the Owl House. That would be wonderful. 4 seasons of the Owl House.
Than the other shows we cover.
This is not like 6, 7 seasons Steven Universe, whatever. I mean, I don't know if it was that long, but like it just had long seasons. Like so here's like. If we want them to get together before the end of the show, like probably we can extend that to be before the last season because we have seen couples get together in the last season. If we really want this to be something different, it should be before the last season. If it's going to be 4 seasons, maybe it'll only be 3 seasons. Then this is season 2. What are we waiting for? This is 20 episodes. Like this, it's either this season or next season.
That's my concern because we don't know how. Because my thing is, we were dealing with different beasts with Kipo and like even Avatar Korra and She-Ra. Like the only show that we've covered other than Ladybug, which granted we know we're getting some seasons like in the future now. We don't know the extent. Like we don't know what we're going to get from and I think that's what's part of what's hard to kind of wrap our heads around and really like frame this conversation because like there's a difference between watching 6 seasons of a show and dragging something out versus, maybe they get together at the end of season 2 and it's a 3-season show. But at the same time, it's like, if season 2 is the last season, we want to have as much time as we can. And I think that's part of what's really hard. And like you said, with Disney, one, we don't know, we don't know anything now. Like, we don't know how many seasons we're getting. We don't know how many.
As of now, we have not heard of a season 3 green light for the Owl House. Yeah.
And that's concerning, I would say.
I mean, I'll say this. It's like, yeah, I want them to get together before like the end of a show, but I also don't want to rush this. And based on what we've got, like for me, my interpretation at this point, by the end of the first season, Amity's feelings are overt, and we know that what she feels about Luz. It's clear. Luz, on the other hand, I don't know if she's even aware of Amity's feelings.
So here's my question, Beatriz. Okay. What's the obstacles for you? What are the main obstacles to getting it to a point where we're not rushing it? Is it Luz becoming aware of her feelings? Luz reciprocating the feelings?
Exactly. It's honestly at this point, and as it should, it's about the protagonist. It's about Luz. It's like, where is Luz at the moment? So it's like, for one, it's like, has Luz at the a typical thing is like Luz is dense, but is she dense or has she been aware of Amity's feelings and she just doesn't know what to do? Or maybe it doesn't know, or is she just oblivious to it, which I relate a lot more to, which is she has no idea that Amity's feeling this way. And it's just a matter of like, well, what interpretation of Luz are we going to go with? Because if it's like she is aware, but she like hasn't felt those feelings yet, but she will eventually start to feel them. Or is it that she's dense and once she realizes, she's like, oh, then a light bulb like lights up and she's like, oh, I feel this way too. And then she doesn't have to deal with these feelings. You know what I mean? Like,
is this I think I have a like different option that I don't know where it fits in what you're saying, but like now that Luz can calm down for like 30 seconds. And granted, we are still dealing with the aftermath of, to them, the portal being gone.
Now that it's not a Katara saying we can't get together while we're still like, fighting the Fire Lord.
Luz going to be like, wow, I really like Amity. Like, what if we have like 5 episodes? It doesn't have to be this number, but like Luz, they start hanging out and Luz is like, wow, Amity's so pretty.
The Luz realization arc.
The Luz realization arc, which I think we definitely need that. Like, first off, granted, I'm also for Amity, like as someone who like could not fathom another person liking me. Like, I could also see Luz, and especially given Luz's background, we could go this, wow, you like me, and had never considered ever in the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Delaney, in the Mestival, the fanfic we're talking about.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Luz is like, oh, I definitely did like you. I just couldn't even conceive of you liking me. That was kind of like, that's the direction some fics
That would be good. And I think that would be a great direction for the show, too, and tracks with her background. So it would be like, so I think there's like, I just wasn't sure where that fit in. I think it fits in somewhere in the middle of like.
I mean, yeah, because that's definitely also that I think that fit in terms of her being dense about it because she's just like completely doesn't think that's an option. So that's more.
And then also again, we've, the main conflict is kind of like Ida's no longer about to die, and they're not on the run every 5 minutes. So like we're somewhere. Like we're
yeah. So that's why I'm like, it just depends on what the show wants to do with Luz. That's the question. It's like it's less about. It's like how does she want to deal with these feelings, and it's just how she reacts to it. So it's her realization arc, and I could easily see Luz's realization taking an episode. Or I could see it take an episode.
Right, isn't that the hard thing? It could take one episode or it could take a whole season,
exactly.
Right?
So they could do a lot with it. So that's the thing. But I could also see her, like, once she does figure it out, I can easily see her, like, just act on it.
Yes, Luz is definitely, I think, okay, so here we're writing fan fiction now. Okay, so you have the arc. I don't know if it's 1 episode, 3, 5, whatever they want. It's an arc. Luz figures out she likes Amity. And then Luz is like, I have to do something because Luz is impulsive. But then at the same time, she's like, it has to be perfect because Amity's perfect because, you know, she's annoying. And so
she might say that exact thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Like we can quote me later when it happens. and then Luz has to go around and she has to ask Ida and Lilith and King and Gus
is dedicated on her confession.
Yeah, and then her being like, how do I ask Amity? Like, what should I do? And then she does it. And like,
it's going to be a big grand gesture.
Yes.
Like, because that is Luz in a nutshell.
Because I would really like, let's say season 2, I'm really liking this thing I've made up in my head of like, this is more, and I think it fits in with the Disney formula, is this kind of more of a world building, like, quote unquote chill season until like, you know, nonsense happens at like during the mid-season finale of like, we have some more, like we start, you know, we have more of that flirting. We have more of them like getting to know each other and like, and also Amity acclimating more to the new friend group and like all of this stuff happening. And then, you know, they can bring back the portal whenever they want. We can have some spy nonsense.
Yeah. I think it's possible. I mean, I would love if we don't go hard into the plot and we take time like that. I think that'd be so. In terms of this notion of like, if them getting together, if this is like based in organically, like how we're writing their genuine feelings based on like how Luz would process everything, and if it takes like even a little more than a season, if that's like how it's approached, I'm on board with that. Like,
right, of them not getting together,
not getting together. Okay. But my worry is just that it's like this is for the show, the mythology and the plot is first, and so like we're gonna write the romance around what we're doing with the plot.
That's what you don't want.
That's what I don't want. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like under the notion that the show is going to turn into a Lumity centric show. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I do think there's a way to like have Lumity as an organic arc while also doing what they're going to do with the plot. Like, yeah,
I think that's why it's not bad. I actually really like the season structure in season 1, but it's also part of why everything feels a little weird is because it's like plot. And then it's all of a sudden, Amity has the biggest crush on Earth, which is fine, and it's definitely believable. Like it totally makes sense. But then it's also like, and we're gonna write her out of the finale, and it's like, can we not do that again? So like, I don't think it's like necessarily a horrible bad thing that they did to write her out of the finale. It was just exceedingly obvious, and so I think, like, I would like to say, like. I think
that's probably the worry is that's
my concern. We have precedents, and my thing is like, can we begin to tie them together and they can be separate, but like at the same time, like, you know, at some point you would assume that, let's say there's the big showdown and, you know, Amity's right there with them, and, you know, at some point it's going to be Luz v. Bellos on her own, but like Amity will have been there, you know, right up to the last second, you know, and so it's like, are we going to get there, or is this going to be another like, I have my girlfriend on the side while I'm battling the Emperor, you know? Like,
yeah. So,
well, the thing is, like, I remember that Dana said, I think it was in the AMA, where she was like, you know, the show isn't going to be all about the relationship because that's just not the kind of show she's wanting to write. But, you know, she's really excited about how it's like, I think she compared it to like, it's like knitting, like she's knitting all of these different threads together. And so I think that, like, what that says to me is that, like, she wants to have it all be connected and not just like
a cohesive story.
This section is Lumity and this section is Plum. They're two separate, distinct things.
And I think she wants to tell a good story is what she wants.
Right. Like, well, I think like it's clear that that's what she wants to do.
Well, again, this is a very different. I would say I would compare it more to Kipo. Would be like, you know, again with Avatar and She-Ra, we have these shows. And I guess Voltron, but Voltron's not necessarily the best example just because the romance was literally so little. But you have this, it's very different. You know, we just come off of She-Ra, and you know, the plot is the relationship, and then now we have this, like, we have plot and relationship, and it's different from Voltron because, you know, there wasn't really romance in Voltron until like very up at the end.
From what you're saying, like, I would like to see, and I've said this before, like I've talked about how I want Amity to be more of a main character, less of a side character. I would like to see Amity tied into the main plot of the show more. I think then the romance will naturally follow more.
She is perfectly poised to be so, because assumingly her parents have a lot of influence on the Boiling Isles.
If her parents are like the main villains, I think it'll naturally flow. Yeah, I think if Amity's just around more, you don't have to like write her out, and you don't have to put it in opposition. The conflict, the plot, and the romance.
We have brought her into the fold. Like, she is in the friend group, which was, you know, wasn't a thing before.
Or they can't just break Amity's leg again. Like,
right, that's right. I agree.
No, they'll break her arm. What are you talking about?
You can. There's other writing devices to get her out of there, but
it just seems so obvious.
I thought this first one was, you know, like, I think it was already pretty obvious. Like, let's not do it again.
If you, like, the first time, but then the second time it's like, okay, like,
this time makes sense because Amity wasn't part of the conflict. I think that's the thing, is we have to see her. And we're getting there. I think that's part of what the discussion was when we started, was about like this, you know, is she going to pick between Luz and the Emperor? And I think Amity, I think this is also the interesting thing, is like Luz, and Ida has given her every chance to learn both sides, and Luz has picked a side, and Amity hasn't yet. So I think that's the interesting, and why we're going to have to thrust Amity in. And again, there is still that parallel with Luz and Amity and Ida and Lilith, which, and again, as these things converge, is becoming really interesting, the paths they walk. So we're going to have to, like, I think Amity is poised to become very much the second main character, and, you know, go through kind of the foil of Luz, and, like, you know, we'll see both sides. If not the
second main character, then just a main character.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's high up on my list of things I want from season 2, but we'll see if that's something the show is interested in. I'll conclude the section of like, will they date this season, by saying like, I'm going to say it, like, I want them to date this season, and I think that they will. I think that they will start dating this season. And my evidence is Grom and Wiggle Like Witches happened in season 1. Like, what else are we going to do from here?
Okay, like, this was like, season 1. I still can't get over how gay Grom was. And then they do Wiggle Like Witches.
Grom happened in season, and I'm like, most shows don't even get a Grom, and this happened in season 1. Like, we gotta do something soon.
Like, how gayer are we going to, there's only so much we can do, and yet they still shocked me. So like, also,
I think it's happening. I don't know if they're traditional,
or Amity's gonna blow a gasket.
Yeah. Also, Amity. Yeah. So let's get that transition to another topic. So yeah, I mean, it's true though. Something. One of the main comments we were getting. We did a series of Lumity podcasts, and it was very funny. A lot of people noticed how, in the Grom podcast, I had a section of the podcast where I'm like, wow. Amity was so composed this episode. Like, she just danced with her crush who she was about to ask out, and she put that behind her, and she like defeated this monster. Like, how Amity's so composed, so chill. Like, Marinette could never. I said that. Oh yeah. And then literally next episode, she is the opposite of that, and it's like super flustered the entire time.
Okay, you would absolutely imagine being that person. Like, you just got to date with your. I think the crush. I think the dance like just kicked her crush into like full overdrive.
So that's okay. So that's an explanation. So my first first thing I want to point out, because if you've been consuming a lot of fan content since season 1, Wing It Like Witches Amity is the default Amity. Like, this is what Amity is in people's minds.
In my fanfic, can confirm.
In your fanfic, in Delaney's fanfic, that took place specifically after.
Yeah, mine is specifically after.
Many people just think of Amity as blushy mess now.
Yes.
But what I'm going to say is that's the only there's like, she was a little blushy in the Willow episode, but she's not a blushy mess most of the show. She is like very straight faced, like composed,
which is why the crush is so amazing.
It's why it hits hard, but it's like I don't know if I'm like on board with this being like, this is Amity moving forward, and Amity, it's just, this is one episode, you know,
is it situational?
Right. I think the explanation that makes the most sense is like, Grom was like this, like, once she had some space to reflect on Grom, that was too much, and now she cannot handle it on that day after that dance.
Yeah, like, I mean, after you dance, like, you were within 2 inches of Luz again, and you're just like, oh my god, I'm gonna die.
Also, like, literally, I mean, she just went full on idiot in Like Witches. Like, I'm like, like maybe now that she's had time to breathe, like
I think she can put it together. I think she can.
Okay, this is another thing though too, is again based on fanfic. Like, how is she going to react once they meet again? Like, is she going to be like, "Oh my god, I was so worried about you," or is she going to be like, "Hi, I'm really
right"? We didn't get that. That moment.
Like, what's going to happen now? Because she watched everything on her crystal ball.
Yeah, on her crystal ball. Yeah, so we could get that. I was so worried about you. Yeah, we could get that hug.
That hug feels so good.
That hug. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, what's going on? Because yeah, it is an interesting part of the they culminate is like Amity is already at this point where she is like way too deep here, and so we need to do something with this. And either she's going to get it together and move on, or maybe there'll be drama obstacles in the way, or plot stuff, or maybe it'll just still be there, and that's an impetus for moving forward with the romance arc. But I mean, I do think that it was too striking, how Amity was in Wing Like Witches. Like, it was too too pronounced. I don't think we can go fully back.
Maybe it'll be like a roller coaster.
Super flustered. Yeah, maybe she'll go back and forth. I will say, if of note is, they're done writing season 2. Nothing we're saying, obviously, we know nothing they're saying is going to reflect in season 2. We're aware of this. We're doing this for fun, but it's not. They haven't seen the fan reaction to knowing everyone's obsessed with Amity blushing all the time.
It's true.
So maybe we won't keep. I think if they saw it, they wouldn't be able to stop from.
I think they did enough blushing in season 1 to have no reason to stop in season 2.
Yeah, I mean, and also she blushes when she gets angry. She's just a blushy person.
Red. Yes,
we could do other types of blushes. Yeah,
like my face goes red. Like every emotion.
Yeah, that's why it's great too. Yeah, we have the angry Amity and the tomato Amity. It's
funny.
I think it's gonna be interesting which one we'll see, but yeah, I think it would be fun if we could if we picked up right where we left off with Wing Like Witches. I don't think it's a given, like a lot of people seem to think.
Yeah, I don't. It just now they've been apart a little bit, and because we're talking Grom and Wing Like Witches are extremely high stress situations.
Delaney, here's something. Will Amity watching Luz being super cool on the crystal ball only worsen the blushing?
Oh, you make really good questions. Really good question. Okay. Oh, I didn't consider this. Okay, so I've only been considering the she's really worried about her. Ooh, you make a really good point, Dylan.
Right. Yeah.
Because she's been like, oh my god, wow, because she literally fought the Emperor and rescued everyone. You make really good points.
Yeah, I can't remember what specifically she saw in the crystal ball, but she'll have heard about it at some point.
It could be both.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Which do I prefer? Because my thing is I think Amity goes back and forth between is Amity going to be overprotective? She was like that in when they were on the knee. She was like, you're going to get hurt, and she was like, stay here. But now Luz has proven herself, and then also Amity has the biggest crush on Earth on her. So it could go either way. It could go that, oh my god, so strong, or
yeah.
I'm leaning towards oh my god, so strong. That's what I'm going to that's my answer.
Will Amity go full Marinette is another way of saying this.
Yes.
Never go full Marinette. That's what we have to say. I would not recommend. So we'll be keeping track on that. Another side of things, Beatriz on that line brought up, is what is Luz's perspective? Because we saw it through Amity's perspective, her crush, but we don't know. We brought up that these possibilities of Luz might realize it at some point, but how about in terms of her own feelings? But how about Luz could know about Amity's feelings and be playing it chill, or everyone assumes that she has no idea.
She was really confused in Wing It Like Witches.
Yeah, I connect based on personal experience. I connect more with an oblivious Luz, so that's the one I'm going to lean more on.
My wife is how are we married? I'm such an idiot.
So I could see, and Luz, like Delaney said, Luz just based on how how she didn't have a lot of friends. She was very stuck in her books and all that. It just fits more with me and my experiences, and that I tend to just not be aware of it. So that's how I read it. But I could also
totally wouldn't know. It just fits with her. She has no idea, and she's never had friends. She doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right, she doesn't know what it's like for somebody to at least she doesn't have the idea of what somebody having a crush on her would look like, because she's never been in a situation where she was at least aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's never had people like her, just period. Like, I don't even mean like romantically. Like, she's never had any friends, like, ever. So it's like she has no concept.
I mean, I like to think that somebody probably had a crush on Luz because she's just
not aware.
But she was just such a disaster bisexual at
my thing is, I'm just saying that, like, based on Luz's experience, and like, you know, I had a very similar experience growing up where I was bullied, and like, and I think there's very much like that's like where we are with Luz, is like she's never felt like she's fit in before, she's never really had friends, and so this is, you know, she's like, oh yeah, Amity's just a really good friend, and Amity's like, oh my god,
it's like I'm just so happy that Amity's my friend.
Yeah, I think it's tied into like that's what she's focused on. She's just like happy to have this friendship instead of like
going that Luz is like, yeah, I'm bi, or are we gonna go more the like?
Yeah, table that for a second. We'll come back to that. But yeah, it's because right, if she doesn't even know she likes girls, then this might not be an option. So that is relevant. Yeah. I think we all have to assume she doesn't is not aware of Amity's feelings at the moment. I will say it is in play though that at some point Luz becomes aware, and we don't know it. She acts the same, and then at some point she reveals to Amity that she knows.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
I can see that too.
That could be magical.
So she's because you like me, like she says, like Amity's like, what, you know, like
and Amity just like flips out.
Like, you have a crush on me, Blight?
Like,
yes,
right? Like she so we might not know. Like they could pull that reveal at some point, and it might not be obvious to us because it already is ridiculous that she's not aware. So any we won't really get a change, I feel like.
But I also feel like there's so much to do there with, you know, since Luz is our main character, like giving the space for us to see her exploring her feelings.
Yeah. I want her to be a blushing idiot, please.
We've seen the perspective in terms of romantic feelings from Amity, which is interesting because she's the side character. Like, so now will we turn the perspective back to the main character and explore this we could do a change right at season 2. We could now focus all in.
We got to listen to her gush about that fake dude. I think we deserve this.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably do this. Yeah, I mean, it's so tempting for shows to just keep things ambiguous like this, especially if we're building tension. Like that's the only counter argument. But like the show has done such a good job with Luz's character. I think we're gonna pretty quickly start to tap into her feelings. At least once she starts to become aware of anything. We can transition that into the identity stuff because that was a good point. So. We brought up this AMA. This has happened since our last Lumity podcast, both an AMA and they did a live stream, like a charity live stream. So
those were great.
Yeah, like we said, one of the things was Dana had previously said Luz was bi, or is kind of ambiguous, what she said, main character. But yeah, Luz is bi and Amity is a lesbian, as she said in the AMA. So I think Delaney put in that line. I assume it's like, will we get into this in the show?
Yeah.
Like, there are specific identities.
Right. So like, for me, it's like, with something like the Boiling Isles, like, and I think we've kind of hinted at this, like, I don't think we're going to deal with like homophobia on the Boiling Isles, and I don't necessarily think we're going to have to deal with coming out, but maybe this idea of like identities, like, but I also don't know, like, are we at that point where Luz is going to be like, yeah, I'm bisexual? Like, that would be amazing. But like, are we there yet? Or is it just going to be like Luz being like, I like boys and girls, and Amity being like, I just like, you know, like, are we actually going to talk about it? And then, like, but we also have had hints. You know, Luz has said, like, I have a new crush, and her name is Education. And then also, like, crushing on fanfic boys. Like, both are fine. And so does she know? Is it?
Right. It's hard to conceptual, like, so the only precedent I think we have for any sort of identity talk in show in terms of, like, kids animated shows is, like, Kipo, where Benson says he's gay. Like,
that's it.
So it's a little hard to conceive of Luz saying, like, I'm bi in the show.
And maybe they do have those words in the Boiling Isles, but it's also hard to imagine, like, in the Boiling Isles that, like, that's a thing. Because if we go with, like, you know, let's say, like, traditional, like, you know, a lot of the time it doesn't matter. Like, there's not, like, same thing with
in a lot of fantasy shows.
In a lot of fantasy shows,
no homophobia here. Yeah. So in terms of, like, Amity might not have like have the term lesbian or anything.
Right, but she's just like, I just like girls.
Luz would have that term.
Luz would.
Yeah. However, she she's talking to only people who don't know that concept.
And I can see Luz, and we've all read those fanfics where Luz like gets to explain to Amity what a lesbian is, and like and it's like. And I don't, like it. You
say we've all, but only you.
Yeah, look, I have read all of them. Leave me alone.
So, I mean, I will say this: like, if there is going to be some form of like a coming out situation, I could easily see it as Luz having this like revelation about her identity, and then like running around the Boiling Isles, being like, "Guys, I'm bi," and everyone's just like, "So," or like just being like, "What does that mean?" Like, okay,
because Luz, like, and I think I don't want to get into this because I don't want it to be the case, because a lot of people have made an assumption about Luz's mom, and I'm like, I don't think that's where we're going, and I really don't want to.
People ship Luz's mom and Ida.
Oh my! Well, okay, that's a great ship. Shut up. But no, what I'm talking about is
well, why shut up? That was in line with your point.
Well, no, that's not. That was the point I was making. Was that there is?
Oh, that she was her mom would be like
that her mom would be like anti, but granted, at the same time, we're also dealing with this like the conformatorium and her mom sending her to like be normal camp, and like there are like, and again, don't know if they're meant that way. Like, is this supposed to be gay conversion therapy, or so like? And that's my thing is like, I don't know which way we're going with it, and so like I would assume in the Boiling Isles that's not the case. Like, I'm assuming like the Blights, they're just like Willow's weak, except now she's not, but they suck anyway. But then that's their problem. It's not that Willow has two dads, it's this. So,
right.
like,
we had a chance to frame this as homophobia already, and we chose not to with the Willow situation.
Right.
She's like just not as powerful of a witch. Right. That's how we framed it. So I do think the most likely thing we'll do is not bring up a sense of homophobia.
No, what I love if Luz like has like she's like, look at my bi flag. That would be great. Like, and it fits with Luz's character, but it's just like, how far are we going to go with it?
Yeah, it's my read is that we won't bring up labels specifically, but they might talk about liking boys and girls. Like Luz might mention that,
or maybe this could be funny, not funny, but like this would be like a natural conversation. It would be like Amity's like, oh, you just like boys, and Luz is like, no, I like boys and girls, and so like something like that.
Right, something like I think that's in play. I will say Dana very quickly reveals these things, and if it was a spoiler, she might have been less likely to. True. So that might indicate it's not going to be get into in the show. Yeah,
and I'm so like, look, if they're important, they're great. I'm also tired of coming out stories. Like, can we not do that? Can we just be like, I'm. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, here's the thing. These are pretty young kids. Yes. And I will say the way we talk about identities in terms of like firm labels and stuff, I think like the younger the kids are, it's not as much of a thing. I assume it's like they're more likely to not talk about it in those terms. So I do think it's kind of natural to
I mean, to not get into I'm just because I reflexively hate people who are tired, not hate, but like I hate the comment of like, oh, I'm tired of coming out stories, because like the coming out stories we have gotten have been so limited to certain experiences. Right. So it's like, so for me, it's like, and like just looking in animation, the coming out stories aren't that much. And I guess so I understand the feeling, but
it's
like
the boiling it down, like is boiling down this representation to a coming out story. That's my main issue with that is coming out stories is because they boil down to this is the extent of our representation.
Right. No, for sure. But I also don't like that comment because we've only I think
we've clarified it more.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why I'm just like, I don't need them to do a coming out story. I don't need, but I wouldn't rag on them for doing it. And I like, you know what I mean?
At the very least, Owl House isn't going to just do a coming out story, right? Like we're going to do that. If they do that, we do that as one episode, and then there'd be like a relationship explored too, right? Like there's going to be a bunch of stuff that we could get into. That could be in play. I don't know, but like, yeah, I don't. In terms of like who's Luz coming out to, right? Like, does that exist? Right. Like, it probably doesn't.
Because I mean,
exist.
To Luz, she would be coming out, but in the Boiling Isles, I don't think that's necessarily a thing. Because I think, like, regardless of what happens, Luz is coming out. Like that's just how it works. So I guess what I meant is like I don't. Based on comments Luz has made, I don't think we're going she realizes she likes girls, more that she just realizes she likes Amity.
Right. That is the in terms of back to the main Lumity will they did like in terms of Luz's feelings. The question is, what's the roadblock? Is it liking girls? Is it liking Amity specifically? Is it realizing Amity's feelings and that opening things up? Probably more likely Amity specifically versus like the most likely route seems to be she already like either knows she likes girls or doesn't even think of it in those terms, which is possible. That's more of like a younger generation thing, I think. So probably, but it could be interesting too, because it would enable us to do Luz talking about her identity if it was like, oh, I like girls thing. Like, so that would be, I think that would be interesting. But I just considering the way Dana's freely talked about it, it doesn't seem like going to be a super major part of.
Like, I mean, they literally
that
was a big headline. Like, she was just like, yeah, the main character's bi.
Yeah, it seems like Gratitude's like, yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
it is.
so if they,
like,
I mean, if that was supposed to be like, quote unquote a surprise, then that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah, but we'll see. It is interesting. That was the main part of the AMA. There's been a lot of stuff about the beta Lumity styles that we've gotten. That was in the live stream. If you look up Lumity fan art recently, it's at least half beta Lumity.
Is it half? I might want to say it's 75%. I've been seeing a lot.
I'm a little frustrated by it. I mean, like, I like the beta Lumity.
I mean, it's because they're older. Like, that's the literal only reason.
Yeah, you can do steamier stuff since they look older.
Ridiculous.
I guess but so in terms of the wish list, like, will we see beta then in the show? Like, could there be like a dream sequence or like something like?
Well, I think that was a lot. There was a lot of talk of the time jump.
Yeah. Okay. Will we get a time jump? That's true. I assume no, but that is in play. Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about like a revolution and like, granted, Luz literally changed Hexside in like 3 days, so like who knows? But like, if we're really, because we're talking about like completely changing how this society functions. So I mean, we could have a time jump. Do I want a time jump? Like, my thing is, like, I'm never prepared for a time jump. Every time I've watched a show and there's a time jump, like, I'm surprised. Like Korra, surprised.
What we do? Yeah, considering Luz's trapped there and her mom can't like, that would be. We're not going to jump too.
God, that would be so.
At the moment, it would be very sad
when they're like, there's these fics where it's like, it's like Camilla dealing with Luz being gone for 6 years. I'm like, no, I don't want to read this. Like, they're like, when Camilla puts it miss, I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with this. Like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, so I think that could be more of a season 3 or 4 thing, if anything, a time jump.
What I want is we just have like one, because I ship Camilla and Ida, but then also like being like, yeah, you go to school and I'll visit you in the magic realm.
Right, it would be nice if we can resolve this.
It's like joint, like I read a fic, it was like joint custody. She like visits her mom on weekends. Hilarious, so funny.
Yeah, that probably not a season 2 thing, but
no.
We'll see. And the only other thing from the AMA I want to break up is Dana said Amity's mom like forces her kids. I don't know if she said forces, but like your preference is for their kids to dye their hair green. So confirm.
Well, basically what she said was she was like, well, I mean, I think word for word is like she likes her children to be a matching set.
To match, yeah,
which is messed up.
I mean, people are like assuming that this is messed up and abusive, which is like fair, but we don't really know Amity's feelings about this. But yeah, this is if you're seeing a lot of fan art, if you see a lot of brown haired Amity, this would be why, because it's like Amity going back to her natural hair color, like maybe what she more wants. So that's something we could see too. Will Amity's hair color change this season? That's something to be tracking. Again, maybe more of a season 3, but I will say the parents are the main plot of the season potentially, so that would make sense if she starts rebelling against them by not dyeing her hair, or maybe she dyes her hair a different color. This could be fun. Yeah, I mean, pink-haired Amity, that's the only other one I've seen other than green and brown. Pink-haired Amity, okay.
Pink committee or whatever.
Pink committee, blues and pink committee, yeah, okay.
I've seen it. My favorite was it was like lesbian flag, like ombre.
Oh yeah, the hair with the
good stuff.
Also a lot of like a lesbian flag Amity art. Yeah, that's
good stuff with like loosen the bi flag and then Amity and lesbian flag. I love I love every single version.
They're so good.
That's good. Okay, let's get to the wish list. Quick hits through the wish list items. We've talked about a lot of this already, but here's what I think is the big stuff. So will they go on a date? And I think this is different from will they date, because they could go on a date before they're dating.
This is true.
It could be a thing where one of them's panicking. I mean, this is a classic fanfic. Like, oh my god, is this a date?
I love it.
One of them thinks it's a date. One of them doesn't think it's a date. I had this with my wife.
It's real. I just want to
You're saying it's real.
It's real. Like, I was like, I don't know. Like, is this a date? Like, I asked her out, didn't know if it was a date. Because, again, when you like girls, you're like, does she like me, or does she just like me as a friend? It's hard, okay? Life's hard. And so
I think we could do this.
She did not. It was fine. It was a date. She just
did. You think it was a date and she didn't, or did she just not dress up?
We both thought it was a date, but so she did wear like what she considered a nice, like she didn't wear like a graphic tee, but she like wore what she considered a nice, like I wore a button up and jeans.
Like, I mean, I've had the awkward situation where I went on a date, and this is before Dylan times.
I also had this situation,
and she thought that it was a date, and I didn't, and it was a little awkward. And it's like, oh. Yes.
I've also done that where I thought it was a date and dressed up and it was not a date. This was not the case with my wife.
Let's hope they both think it's a date and it'll be good. But they might not both. They both may not know each other knows.
Okay, but my thing is like if I do like the like if they both are like it's a date, but they're too afraid to like try and figure that out. I'm about that. Like that's also good drama.
This is basically the Marinette Adrian podcast we had.
Yeah.
Anywhere we want them to go on a date. Anywhere.
I mean, the library, duh.
Yeah, they already had. They basically
the tree. Every fanfic, the tree.
To go back to the tree. Is the tree a thing that it just exists now, or
I would assume so. It's a magic tree and it lives there. I don't know. Why wouldn't it be there, Dylan?
It's because they just manifested the tree, right? Like,
and now the tree's there.
Yeah,
maybe it's a temporary tree.
I don't think it's a temporary tree. I don't think that's how that works.
Okay.
I would say if we're going by the laws of supposed magic trees, that I don't think they're temporary.
I don't know what that means, but okay. I'll not dig into that. I'll resist the urge. How about next thing is will they kiss this season? So
okay. This
is the big one. In addition to them dating, okay, they could kiss before they date. They could kiss, and then there's drama, and then it's like, true. Did they like it? And then it's like,
God, there's so much.
I hope not, but
now I will say if they kiss. Like, let's say it's the finale and they kiss and we're getting season 3, I would be satisfied.
Oh, yeah. I think so. I think I'll take a kiss or them starting to date.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But now we have to talk about what kind of kiss.
Okay, well, Beatriz, I feel like you're most like, let's let it develop naturally. Like, what about a kiss? How does that play into a natural progression of Lumity?
I could see season 2 ending with a kiss. Like I could see the kiss being the start of the relationship, like the confession, if you will, or like
dramatic,
I could see that. I could see a kiss on the cheek again because it's like I'm very like again like I could see it. I could also see it not happening. But I'm also, that doesn't, like, a kiss doesn't necessarily mean that a relationship can't be explored. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
here's the... Yeah. Yeah, they could kiss and then they could be torn apart. This is a thing.
Yes.
So we could get a culmination mid-season and then something goes wrong.
Yes.
Like, I think, and then their parents, like, isolate Amity or something, or the Emperor kicks the rest of them out. Cause that could be before they're dating. It could be set up to be the beginning of the dating arc, but then like plot stuff gets in the way of it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of us were like, people were like I said, people were like, are they going to kiss in the season 1 finale? So this is on the table.
It is on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to be very bold in my predictions. So I think we're going to get a cheek kiss for sure this season. As a lead up to them dating, like, or like first kiss. Like, I could see.
You gotta get the cheek kiss, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think. Like, I think Amity could, like, maybe suck it up enough and her, like, and kiss her on the cheek. Or Luz does it. And Amity,
you think she's capable? You think Amity's capable?
Oh my God, Amity's finally gonna faint. You know how she she faints.
Okay, the best part is she could almost pass out either or. Like, either she does it and almost passes out, or Luz doesn't show. Like, I think both of these are are contenders.
Okay, here's what I'm thinking. Like, Amity is like trying to just build up her confidence. I'm gonna go do it. She storms up to Luz, and Luz is like, "Is everything okay?" And then Amity's like, "Okay, Luz." And then puts her hands on her shoulders, and then she kisses Luz on the cheek, and then Luz is like, "What?" And then Amity just freaks out and runs away.
Yes, I like it.
That's okay, there's my fan fiction.
I like it.
That's good. Yeah, it sounds like a mini fic setup. I agree. I think they'll kiss this season for cheek kiss. Yeah, within 10 episodes, cheek kiss.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I think they'll real full on kiss at some point this season.
I think
I'm like
get
not prepared.
I like the more organic, like, because my thing is, I don't know. I guess everyone has different experiences, but in my head, you start dating and then you kiss.
That's definitely not how it goes for everyone, but yeah, it's they
like,
could do that.
Based on television, to me, that's not what happens. But like, I don't know.
Yeah, you want Amity to be the nice Christian relationship, right?
Shut up.
To be
Okay?
They're gonna hold hands. That is as far as they're gonna go. Apparently.
Yeah, will they hold hands this season?
Okay, look, this is
Be
based
bold.
on
Will it
I
happen?
mean, they've already held hands.
Yeah, they already held
But
throughout the entire Willow episode, right? Like they're
that's
They
true.
gotta hold hands and their fingers interlocked.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
Here's again. I hate to keep saying that. Like, what's the follow up to Grom? Like,
I don't
it has
understand.
the next thing is a kiss, right? Like, what else? What's in between? Like, you can't. We already did Grom.
Well,
What's
apparently
next?
it's Grudgeby and trying not to pass out. Like,
somehow it was a solid next follow up. Yeah. So
okay, now I'm imagining so we have to have another event, right? Like is that what we're getting? Like, my thing is they're like freshmen, right? Like you already had prom. What are we gonna do? Like, is there gonna be some weird homecoming? Like, I don't know. What are the options?
You have the Mestival on the mind.
We do.
Again.
I do
That's
have the
why
Mestival. To be fair, it's because I also have the stick idea in my head anyway. But my thing is they can literally do whatever because this is a made up place. So are we gonna have Valentine's Day? By the way, would be amazing. I want messed up Valentine's Day on the Boiling Isles. But what are we gonna do?
Yeah. It's probably, yeah. I think the mythology of the
we have to set it up to be some are we gonna have this isn't our Blood Moon Ball. We could have that. It's very.
I think they'll have a Valentine's Day. I think so.
Yeah,
I think that's the way to go. I think pressure them into doing something by having the weird horror version of Valentine's Day. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So how about next is Amity confessing. So we've talked about where Amity's at with the blushing. She's more composed, but will she want to confess her feelings to Luz? I mean, I guess yes, because she wanted to in Grom.
So would this be I mean, I don't think this goes against I don't know, 'cause there's so many ways this could play out. Is it Amity confessing and then Luz is OMG, yeah, or is it Luz
So from where we are now, it's tempting to get into the Luz perspective. From where we are now, we know Amity wanted to ask Luz to Grom.
And she's totally written it in her diary.
Luz now. Yeah, so presumably she wants to. At least this will be an option to her in terms of confessing her feelings. Yeah. This is in play. It's Amity trying. This is one of the more likely, I think, early.
Would she write her
episodes.
a letter?
Okay, yeah, she wrote her the note for Grom's. That's possible.
Could she physically get it out? Trying to talk.
I think she'd be more likely to do it in writing. Yeah, then
maybe there's a bunch of times she keeps trying to go up to Luz and tell her, and then she can't get it out.
Maybe I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a possible.
And then Luz realizes, and then Luz tells her, and then they're like,
I like it. I like it.
Like each other.
Yeah, and then the next thing is we talked about this potential Starco type situation where now Luz develops a crush on Amity.
Yes, I don't want to do that again. By the way,
well, we don't necessarily want to go back and forth, but could they have crushes at the same time and neither realizes the other one?
Yes, I think we could have that. That's called Ladybug, and it's torture, but we could have it.
Yeah, will there be secret identities revealed, involved in the show? Superhero Luz? Okay. But yeah, we've got the crossover fan art. There's been a few.
Oh, there's a lot.
Good. It's good. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna do this, but I think Luz,
it's in line with where we are now.
Luz I think we're gonna talk like we talked about, Luz, the main character. It'd be natural to explore her feelings now from her perspective, but I think probably once she realizes she likes Amity, she's more likely to act on it.
Yes, she's much more likely to do something.
So she might have a crush for an episode, but I don't think this is gonna be an Amity.
No, I do like the concept of an episode though, like Sarah was saying, where like Amity keeps trying to do it and then like she just can't. Like I'd be fine with that. That's great drama. Like I'm cool with that.
Yeah, anything like this, I think it's good.
Right, as long as it resolves and we don't get Ladybug, that's all that.
Yes, that's all we want.
Yeah, we say Starco, but really we want Ladybug in terms of drawing out the romance. Yeah.
Right. My problem with Starco is like if we have a Tom-like character like who gets like I will die.
Oh, okay. Is this on anyone's wish list to introduce a romantic rival for
please,
one?
Dear God, no. Mm-mm.
No one? Beatriz, any?
No! Your love for drama.
I wouldn't hate it. I don't think we need it. And like, I mean, I could see kind of like a love triangle where like Amity is the only one who thinks it's a love triangle, and then the other person's just like not even like interested. They're just like there, but Amity's just possessive. I don't know.
What if it's a third girl? How about that? What if it's a new girl who comes in
with it being another girl? However,
and Amity likes both of them. None of them even, and it's all in her head.
I do think that would be amazing. Like, imagine that Amity is like, oh God, Luz has a crush on Willow, and Willow's like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, that would be amazing. Like, I like the idea that Beatriz introduced.
It's just, there's so many ways this could go. So I'm like, I'm not opposed to it. Do I need but I just don't think the tone of the show doesn't match like a really full, intense, like love triangle type of situation.
Also,
like that's
there's enough drama with Luz not having any clue that we don't need like another option.
That's not like I don't need like I could see Amity be like misunderstanding something from a distance, but I could also like see like I don't know. It's like multiple ways this could go.
This would be funny, and I've seen this done in fanfics. Is like, you know, because Luz was like, oh my God, why are Amity's siblings so hot? So, like, you know, that kind of situation, then Amity gets, like, really mad about it. That would be amazing.
Right. We could follow up on Luz, blushing at Amity's siblings.
Because that's great.
Okay, more on that in a second. Yeah. Okay. Lightning round. Even more so. Okay. Azura Book Club. We didn't follow up on Azura Book Club from the Snow episode.
We deserve it.
Clearly, we need it.
I actually think that in addition to the thing I said before, I think this is one of the more likely beginning of season 2 episodes. We actually get them on having their book.
What if this is the first episode? I'd be so happy.
I think it could be the premiere too. Yeah, that's an option.
Give it to us.
Like, there's no reason not to.
I don't think it's a whole episode, but it could be a component.
It could be definitely a whole episode. I don't know what to talk about.
I mean, that's what the fanfic say. Like, this is like, Delaney, is this one of the top fanfics? Is them meeting for an Azura Book Club?
Oh, I mean, it's in literally every fanfic. Like, literally every single one.
Them writing fanfiction together.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're writing fanfiction together. They're acting out.
We know Luz is
they draw
makes AMVs. Like, you know,
every single one.
Where's the Azura fanfics? Like, we got to get into that.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Delaney,
okay. Okay. I'm sure this is already a fan fiction, but like, you know, like they fall in love because they're co-writing an Azura fan fiction.
Oh! Yes. I have a really good one I can send you. That's exactly what.
Please, like, I have it.
Like, I read that fic. It's good.
Oh yeah, they're writing together and they start writing each other into the characters.
And Amity is it's so good. It's so real.
Hecate, yeah.
It's so good.
Okay. Delaney, what are these two you put on that line?
Okay, so for more and by more solo eps, I mean like more like, you know, it's Amity, like kind of like what we got at the knee, like just more Amity and Luz adventures. Like, and obviously,
like Understanding Willow, like that type of episode.
Yeah, another Understanding Willow. Like, obviously, I love Willow and Gus and Ida and King, but like, if we want to, we need to have a couple solo eps, get the ball rolling. So I just want more. I definitely think we'll be getting this in season 2. And then the next point, which is really what Dylan's like, what the heck are you talking about, is weird witch dating rituals. So
actually, I think this was more self-explanatory than the solo
that's fair. Episode. Yeah, solo eps would just be more of them on their own.
I agree, though. I want Amity Luz-centric episodes. Yeah,
like we need that. Like we need those. And then like weird witch I don't know what these rituals could be. I'm reading a really cute.
Ida could teach Luz how witches.
Yeah, exactly. Like weird. Like I mean, like
witch
really,
courtship like rituals.
Yeah, right. Like I'm reading this really cute fic with Camilla and Ida where it's like there's this thing with flowers. And like, anyway, it's great. So like, whatever weird nonsense, like, like
we have to remember this is the Boiling Isles.
It could be literally
weird
something
horror
weird.
vibes.
Yeah, weird horror.
Like,
it needs to like instead of a bouquet of flowers, you give a girl like demon horns. I don't know, like
stuff. We're definitely doing stuff like that.
That's what I need. Like,
what if Amity confesses in a way that's like really grotesque, but to her it's like romantic, and Luz is freaked out by it. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Like, because for me, like that's like. That because my thing, I love stuff like that, especially now that we're in a weird world. Like I love world building stuff like that. Like it'd be great, like weird, and then it's also, this is also every fanfic is like Amity like asking Gus how to ask like a human out. So that would be funny because Gus obviously has no idea, and so then Amity does like really
Amity.
stupid,
That's good. Amity Gus is that's gold, right? We have not mined yet. Yeah,
that's like who knows what's gonna happen. So and of course Amity's just like is only interested because she wants to ask Luz out, but Gus is like OMG, and then of course whatever they come up with is going to be horrifically incorrect. So that will be fun.
Right, like Gus gets his human dating advice from like teen magazines from the 2000s, and so it's like very strange.
Yeah, no, it'll be like really weird. Like you're gonna be like, ooh, or it's like it's almost right, but you're like, this is wrong. Like
I add this to near the top of my list is Gus being a wingman for Amity.
Yes.
Like
okay, we have Willow for Luz. I'm granted.
They and Willow and Gus come up with a plan, and they like split up to like we got to get them together. That could be an episode.
I like
so
this.
We have to get them to, and so they're just really terrible.
I also want Willow to like absolutely torture Amity for her crush. Like I mean, just torture her. Like
okay, let's move on to that one. So you and Beatriz had dueling opinions on Willow.
Yeah.
So, Beatriz, present your side of the Willow, how Willow might play into Lumity.
No, it's not that big of a deal. It's just more of like from personal experience. Like I don't want to get too into it, but like, like I remember in like middle school, this boy saying something really mean about my appearance. And then a couple months later, he starts going out with one of my good friends. And it was weird. And one of my other friends was like, you should tell her what he said about you. And I didn't because I was like, it's not my place to make her choose. Like, I don't want to, that's a weird position to be in. But looking back, I do wish I had recognized that my feelings are valid and that maybe like I should have like said like, hey, like I'm just going to feel weird for a bit. Just letting you know, but like you do you. And I just think it's a disservice to Willow's character to completely ignore the problems and the past that her and Amity had. I don't think they've buried the hatchet at all yet. Like there's still things that need to be resolved. And I think it's a disservice for the show. It's a disservice for her. It's a disservice for Amity as a character because she doesn't even have she's not given the opportunity to like to show her growth by not facing that. And I don't think it's like Willow being like, Luz, you have to choose between me and her or her, anything like that. But I do think for the sake of genuine characterization, there needs to be some sort of reckoning of this.
We could have both.
But I just don't think, like, I also just don't think that it's going to be like, I just don't think she's going to be like, hey, Luz, I'm going to be your wingman for Amity, even though she bullied me for years. Like, I just don't see that as something that's viable just yet.
Yeah, I agree with you that I would like to see Willow's perspective. I think that's like that totally like rang true to me. Like in understanding Willow was wonderful, but we really didn't see how Willow feels about things. Like to a large extent, it's more just like she's like not ready to completely forgive her yet. But like Willow talks to Luz about Amity. Willow talks to Amity about their past. I think these are key things we should see.
Like I think we can have both. Like we can have Willow is not the kind of person who would be like she would not be anti, like, because if like I think she would definitely.
It doesn't seem like she's gonna be like, don't be
right. Like what I say, like I agree. Like we need like Willow and Amity need to actually like we are like my thing is like we're on the footing now to actually have that conversation. So like that's what needs to happen. But we can also have Willow being like, this is great, but then also like Willow and Amity figuring their stuff out. Like I don't think it's an either or thing. Like we can have both. And like I really don't think Willow would be like, oh my god, like Amity, you need to go away, or anything, or tell Luz off about it. Like I think it would be Willow and Amity will have their conversation. They have to deal with that, and that's part of bringing Amity more into the friend group. Like that has to happen.
Yeah, Sarah, did you have comments on it?
I mean, if we had that scene in Melee Witches with Amity sort of being really like crushy about Luz in front of Willow and
Willow's
Gus,
like,
and was like, and I think that I think there's like I feel like I would be satisfied with a middle ground where it's like Willow's like, I like, I'm coming around on Amity, but like I still have a lot of hurt there, and like I think that that's like an important perspective to get, and not to just move past the past, with it, like with just the understanding Willow having that be it. But like I do think that she would come around because she loves Luz a lot, and I think that like it is possible for her to be repairing her relationship with Amity. So yeah.
And this ties into this is lower on the list, but Willow would be the first person to give Amity the shovel talk.
Yeah, explain the shovel talk to the listeners and to me.
Because I don't know what that
is. The shovel talk is the, like if you hurt my friend, I'm going to hurt you. That's the shovel talk. So this is everything we've ever seen where it's like, the dad or whoever, your best friend is like, if you hurt, so-and-so.
The romantic partner.
I'm going to end your life. Like so Willow's number one on the list.
Katara, shovel talk queen.
Yeah,
right?
Katara.
Not the
Katara
exact same situation, but they're not the same situation.
It's true. So
yeah, obviously what you're talking about has existed in media forever. I haven't heard it called the shovel talk until recently.
I have seen it referred to in the shovel talk only via text. Now I can't tell you the first time I read it, but I didn't know this until like I would say a few years ago.
It's that's the TV trope name.
It's the TV trope shovel talk. So
you think Willow is going to give the shovel talk to Amity?
I think what the show is going to do. I think Willow's going to be number one, but I think everyone. I think Willow, Gus, Ida King, they're all going to give Amity the shovel talk. Because that makes sense. Now, Willow's number one, going to give Amity the shovel talk, but I think everyone's going to give Amity the shovel talk.
I hate to say it, but what about Hootie giving?
That would be hilarious.
Okay, my thing is Hootie can't because he's terrified that Amy's going to kill him.
Yeah, Amity would just beat him up.
Amity has already beaten him up.
My biggest headcanon is Hootie and Amity are best friends. Hootie thinks Amity is his best friend. So I think Hootie would give Luz the shovel talk about his best friend Amity.
Okay, that would be really well. I do think the best shovel talk will be King. Now Willow will be like the actual shovel talk, but then King,
Amity would be like, "Oh, it's so cute." No, I hear you, but
it'll be like right, like it would be like whatever it is. Like I think it has to. Everyone's going to do it because that's just like everyone loves Luz, and everyone's going to give Amity the shovel talk.
I like it. Yeah, I think it makes sense with Luz being like the most lovable main character, who all like everyone in the Owl House is they love so much right now. So we're getting into things, other character things now. We talked a lot about the Blight parents being a potential factor this season. Beatriz, was there anything you specifically want to see with them involved?
And
dinner
concerns with Lumity. I think it's just I just want them. I need them to interact. I need them to interact with Luz, and maybe I would love for them to be aware of Amity's crush. I would, because there is a version of this where like they're actually not, they just never comment on Amity's crush. Maybe they just don't maybe they don't realize it or whatever. There definitely could be a version where they're just like, Amity, you do what we want, and then you do what we say, and then she'll rebel, and they'll be like, what? Oh, it's her bad influence. But they might not see the romantic element to it. I want them to see that. So that's like, I guess my big hope would be for them to recognize her interest in Luz.
Well, I've seen, again, Delaney reads a lot of fanfics, and there's like, I've seen, usually it's like the mom, it's usually Adalia's like, not at all, and Alador's like, maybe, let's give it a chance.
You had just pulled their names off the top.
Yeah, you're welcome. I read so many fanfics. It's Adalia and Alador.
They have not been said in the show. That was only said in the live stream.
Only in the live stream. But also, I think like, if we want to be like, really, like, because this is very much in a fandom accepted thing that like they will not be okay because Luz is a human. However, if we want to go with the Willow situation, we're also dealing with like, granted, not that we've actually had any ramifications of this yet, but like their argument about Willow is now mute. Willow is an extremely powerful witch, and she like God, she's actually one of the most powerful characters in the show. Her plant magic is terrifying, and then same thing with Luz. She does magic in a way that no one has seen in a very long time. And I think, maybe they'll be like, okay, I mean, they're probably still terrible people, but like maybe this isn't the problem that, maybe the issue isn't that they're dating. Maybe it's whatever sketchy nonsense they're doing with the emperor, like I think so, I would love, it's like, let's have dinner with my parents and like what horrible nonsense could occur.
Just scary dinner.
Yeah, just scary dinner.
Yeah. I would.
I also want to meet the parent, like Amity meeting Camilla. Amazing, also, by the way.
Yeah, that would be good too. Yeah, I would really like, for Amity's sake, that the Blights aren't permanently evil. That they can turn it around by the end of the season. I'd really, really.
Yeah, I don't really like a lot of the fics and stuff. Like a lot of the people focus on like Amity getting free and being done forever, which is totally fine. That's valid and that's a thing that happens, and that wouldn't be bad storytelling, and that it's fine. But also because like we love Amity, we want good things for her. Like,
it'd be nice if she's still at her parents'
Yeah,
house.
exactly.
Yeah. The Beatriz Paten reactions to Amity's crush on Luz from other characters. We've not seen this yet, except for like maybe like a second of Willow and
Willow being like
Witches.
Sure.
Number one thing for me is like we need to see the twins teasing their sibling Amity about her crush on Luz. Like this is in every fic, and it has not happened in the show yet. Like we need to see this. But there's infinite possibilities here what are some of your most desired, Beatriz?
I mean, you really got it with the twins, though. I mean, that's priority number one. I've seen some art of Lilith just not really understanding the crush.
It's so funny.
But I'd love for her, but I'd also love for her to be like, honestly, because I love Lilith, I would love for her to be gay too, and just be like, I've been there. Like, listen, like maybe you should. Maybe I wasn't the best mentor in magic, but let me be a mentor in this. You know what I mean? So that would be cool. I want Ida to give Luz the worst advice. I want her to give her the worst possible advice in terms of just like, oh, this is how you get a girl like you, and then it just not going well. But
I want Ida to tease Amity. That's what I want.
Yeah, that'd be anyone teasing Amity is
top tier,
very top tier. Yeah, and especially if Ida draws on her experience with women, which we have not heard about yet, and giving Luz advice.
No, I want everyone, like, it's such a good trope. Like, I want everyone to give them like the worst advice that's humanly possible. Like, just the worst. Like, it's bad, and then they do it, and it's like, no, why did you do this?
I just thought of something. Gus tells Amity these are the things humans do for to woo other humans, and it's the wrong advice, and it's just
yes. Gus,
totally
Gus is right behind. I think the twins. I feel like in terms of
Also, I want Willow to. I mean, absolutely torture Amity about it.
Yeah, I think
like
so.
Just absolutely like make her life miserable.
If Willow knows but Luz doesn't know,
yes, just torture her. Just it'd be so funny.
That's her revenge.
Yeah, like that's. I think that'd be good. Like just absolutely torture her.
That's good. Okay, we talked about the advice. Yeah, Delaney, which puberty? When you said which puberty class, I thought of Muberty.
Okay, that's basically what I'm talking about is Muberty. So like, I think this is really funny. Like, one, I think we could also have like Gus and like horrible like made up not right human puberty things would be funny, but then all like. I was really thinking about Muberty in this case. It was like, they're in like which puberty class, and my thing is like. Now that we actually have like this, other than like literally they have pointy ears, like they have a bile sac, like they are physically different. And so it would be interesting to like, just weird nonsense. Like, why? So can Ida just pop her limbs off because of her curse or because witches can do that? Like, I don't think that's been explained. Just weird stuff like that. Like, or is that just Ida? Who knows? So like, I just think that like, I can't give you any examples. There's no telling like any sort of weird, just awkward, like Muberty.
Yeah, there could be biological differences with which, I mean, we just in that fic,
we're having a show about high school. So you have to make puberty jokes. Like you have to. Like you're contractually obligated.
Yeah, I think that could be fun. We'll see.
And like more about
witches
like,
in
telling
general.
Luz like extremely uncomfortable things she did not need to know.
Yeah,
like my favorite
if coming from Ida would be worse.
Like my favorite thing about fics is like when Amity and Luz start like dating, and then Ida's like, "Do I need to give y'all the talk?" And it's like, "Oh my god, please don't." So like hilarious, like stuff like that with Ida. Like no one wants Ida to tell them anything.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're giving any of them the talk.
But something like that, like the puberty stuff. Like I think that, like
I can see Ida being like, they could totally do a joke. Ida's like, Luz, come here. I have to give you the talk, and Luz is like, oh my god, and then Ida's just like something ridiculous that's not related. Like it's her version of the talk,
right? Like she heard about it's actually like literally about bees. Like who knows?
Yeah, she heard about the birds and the bees, and it's like we don't have bees here. I hate to break it to you.
Yeah, no, like funny. Like there's no telling.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay, yeah, something like that'd be fun. Okay, I think we've hit on everything. Delaney, anything else we didn't talk about that's coming to mind, or your final summation of your Lumity season 2 desires?
We have to have this. It doesn't have to be in season 2. It just needs to be in general. But I'll give it. Okay, if I'm gonna go all in, I want like full romance this season. Okay, this is in every movie. Like I'm just imagining the How to Train Your Dragon scene with Astrid and Hiccup on Toothless, like the Midnight Ride. We have to have this on Ida's broom. And Luz and Amity, like it has to happen. Like we need it, or like Luz like flying up to Amity's window. Like we need it. Like it just needs to happen. That's all.
Yeah, them having a romantic broom ride.
Please, we need it. It's extremely important.
Yeah. I mean, we got to get that.
Like,
right?
come on, you have to give it to us. Like we deserve it.
Yeah. Beatriz, anything else coming to mind for your wish list?
I don't know. I think we covered it. I think we covered all the important
we had a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think the broom ride really brings it all together.
That could be the finale.
God, that'd be so good.
Are they going to go into space on a broom?
Yeah.
like another similar show we compare it to?
Oh Lord.
Was it on a broom? I don't remember. I think it was. But it's so. And we get the. I guess that's more of a season 2 speculation. LWA comparison reveals. Okay. I think we talked about a lot of good stuff. Just please date and kiss this season.
Please.
If it fits with what we're going for. If it works, right? Like if that's the direction they want to go. We can only hope. But I think that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good stuff here. So let us know any season 2 wishlist items you had. If you thought of listening to this, leave a comment anywhere. Find all those links at overlyanimated.com. Anything else you guys from closing it out? Sarah had to leave, by the way, but I think I'm good with the please date. I think that's my final thought. Any other final thoughts?
That's all I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like they're 14, it can be super cute and adorable, and like I just want that's all I want.
Chill middle school dating, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean maybe they're in
hold
high school,
hands and like be really awkward. Like I'm about it.
Yeah, we already got both of those things from season 1. The holding hands and the being really awkward, and they're not even dating yet. So let's do it.
Give it to us. Important is. This is a whole thing where like Luz, is always teaching Amity Spanish. I don't care. I want Luz.
Oh my god! Hold on. Can I do something? Can I just say something, please?
Yes.
Oh no, it's horrible. I know.
Fandom. Please stop with Spanish. Stop. If you don't know Spanish, if you're not bilingual, if you're not Latinx, like, also don't call, like, if you're gonna write a fic with Luz, don't refer to her as the Latina. Like, don't do it. Don't stop, please. Like,
do people do that?
You should never. Okay, fanfic tip: you should never refer to anyone by any sort of physical. Like, you just refer if you're not using pronouns, refer to them by their name. That's it.
It's simple, and just stop with the Spanish. It's like I see people be like. There was this one person who I saw this one thing where they were like, "Oh, stop! Stop with like." They were like, "What was it?" They were like. It was like a thing where they were like, using like Luz would never say te amo to Amity, like whatever, even though she would say I love you in English. And I'm like, but there's te quiero. Like I just don't. If you don't know Spanish, like stop. And if you don't, like, just it's very cringy. I didn't understand like why there were so many people complaining about it in the Voltron fandom because I don't watch Voltron, but apparently that was a thing. I get it, and it's. Oh, cringy! Like,
I will say at least
with Voltron, it was like a white actor doing it. Yeah. Here we have the appropriate actor.
Well, my thing is also in Voltron, like Lance speaking Spanish was like 0%.
Yeah, and also
like at least Luz will like very occasionally actually speak Spanish. Like
the thing is, what's great about the show is like in the show, she does it when it's natural and when it fits and it makes sense, you know. It's like that is the times where it like it's just
like when she freaks out over King, adorable.
Exactly. It's like that is it fits. Whereas in fanfic, they just throw it in there because for some reason they're trying to make this. I hate the word exotic, but I guess that's what they're trying to do. And
I mean, this is just a general thing with season 2 is like let Luz speak Spanish more. That's all. Just have more.
I think they'll continue. I think they'll
where
continue
she's like, oh my god, and just like I love that.
Yeah. So in the show, definitely want it. In the fandom,
no,
dial it down.
No.
As a Latina, I'm telling you, dial it the heck down.
That applies to probably like most fics, I would say, from what I've seen.
Never like do not refer to people by their hair color, by their skin color. Just refer to them by their name.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. That's good. I like it. Any other final thoughts? I think we're good. So yeah, let us know anything else you thought of for Lumity season 2. I don't know how we have some edits. I don't know how long this was, but it was very long, so it was good. We had a good discussion about this after a lot of interesting animation stuff. Tune in. We haven't finalized our topic for the next podcast, but tune in. We'll have plenty to talk about regardless in terms of stuff that's been on the air. It's airing since then, so check all that out, overlyanimated.com. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.